Covering. I appeared, one of the petitioner was Charanjit Kaur, in which she was a Sikh lady. She was saying that when I have this choice, then other girls and other ladies and other ladies from the various communities, they should have all this choice also to cover their heads while they are going to schools or wherever or which place they are going to.
Sir,
So my name is Aftab Ali Khan.
Thank you very much, sir. So we just heard right now from one of the lawyers who had appeared for one of the petitioners in this case, Pooja, where he said that the court has very clearly emphasized the Bijo Emmanuel case. Now, the Bijo Emmanuel case is a precedent judgment in Indian law which basically upholds the right of a religious minority to consider their religious choices. They've also said that it is the question of education of women. So very clearly, we are getting this opinion from Justice Dhulia, at least, that this was a question of choice. This was a question of Article 19 and 25 rights, and that the essential religious practice issue should not have gone into at all. But of course, on the other hand, Justice Gupta very clearly saying that the Karnataka High Court
can we
was correct
safely
in what
say
it said.
that there is no end to the stalemate, that this hijab ban, the controversy around this, whether hijab is allowed inside educational institutions or not, is not ended as yet? The Supreme Court will take this up with a higher bench, and this argument will go on for a little longer. How soon or how long will this take in your view?
Well, most definitely, Nabila, what this is going to happen now is that there will be a much longer hearing. So we're also speaking to one of the others. So what exactly does today's matter mean? Now it will go to a larger bench. It will take much more time.
No. So today there has been there is a split view expressed by the two honorable judges. Justice Hemant Gupta has said he has dismissed the appeals preferred by all the parties, and he has upheld the order passed by the state of Karnataka. Justice Dhulia has differed with his view, and he has expressed that he has a differing view because a girl child faces a lot of problems while they are being sent to the schools and colleges, and their right to education is more important than wearing or not wearing a hijab.
So, but this also means that now it will go to a larger bench. Will it go to a 3-judge bench, or is it going to be?
No, now the operative part of the order says that it has to be placed before the Honorable Chief Justice of India, and he is going to form a new bench. Either it will be a larger bench or it could be even 3 judges bench.
सर, जो कर्नाटक हाई कोर्ट का फैसला था वो लागू अभी रहेगा वैसे ही?
नहीं, अभी तो there is
Nabila, as I said, even the lawyers are saying that the Chief Justice will have to take a call on whether this will on sending this matter to a 3-judge bench. We are still waiting to hear from more lawyers as they come out
I know
from
you're
the
trying to
Supreme
catch some
Court.
of those lawyers who are coming out of court, but a quick word from you. Sudhanshu Dhulia has spoken extensively on how this is a matter of choice ultimately, citing Article 19. Do tell us a little more as he presents his verdict there, saying that it's all the matter of many of these girls and their right to education as well. He's spoken in layers. A crisp version of what he said in court, if you could tell us.
Well, yes, as you just said, Justice Dhulia has made several points regarding the importance of Article 19 and Article 25, which is effectively the right of choice, the right of dignity, and the right of privacy. Now, what he said is that this entire debate on whether something is essential practice or not is not needed. And I'm just going to move right now. I'm speaking to 2 of the lawyers who were appearing for the petitioners. Shadan, sir, what exactly was this? Justice Dhulia has raised certain issues regarding right to freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and the right of choice, and the importance of protecting the women's rights to education. But what does this verdict really mean now? Will this go to a 3-judge bench, or will it go to the Sabrimala bench?
No, so there is a disagreement between 2 judges and on a fundamental aspect of constitutional protection of a headscarf. And it will go to most likely 3 judges, because when there is a disagreement between 2 and they have said it has to be placed before the Chief Justice, there is no reason for this matter. Unless there is something in the orders, we are yet to see the orders. Unless there is something in the order which indicates that a larger bench is required. But at least what was read out, there was nothing of that sort. So it should go to 3 judges. And of course, Justice Dhulia's judgment is very specific in terms of that his main consideration. He didn't read out the operative part, but he read out what was the final outcome and what was playing in his mind in terms of why he gave the judgment.
Justice Gupta, however, has framed 11 questions of law, including whether ERP issue has to be gone into, whether there is an inherent right to wear a hijab, whether there is a right as far as the wearing hijab in school is concerned. And I'll take this question to you, Mr. Pasha, because one of your arguments, a very passionate argument during the hearing, was that hijab is an essential practice, that you cannot say that this is not an essential practice. So what happens now?
In fact, my argument was that you cannot go into the question of essentiality. Even if you go into the question of essentiality, this is essential. And Justice Dhulia has held that there was no need for the High Court to go into the question of essentiality. This was a question of freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, and the right to education. This is not about essentiality. And it's on these lines that Justice Dhulia has decided the matter has to go to a larger bench. The strength of the bench, they have just said that it will be placed before the Chief Justice for constitution of an appropriate bench. That appropriate bench may be 3 or 5, depending on what view the Chief Justice takes in an administrative capacity, based on the questions that arise in the appeal. So that is something we will have to wait to find out for that bench to be constituted.
Sir, he has also mentioned the Bijoy Emmanuel case and that this matter is squarely covered under that. What does that exactly mean for the argument or the way this issue has been addressed?
See, just like in Bijay and Aminal, there were kids who were standing in respect for the national anthem, but because their religion did not allow them to sing, because they believed in humanity of the entire, entire globe. They didn't believe in nationalism. Therefore, they were not allowed to, by their religion, to,
So in that matter, the court had said that you can choose not to sing the national anthem.
Although you are not disrespecting the point of national anthem. Similarly, these girls, they are just wearing a headscarf. They are not in disrespect of the uniform. They are wearing the rest of it is uniform, right? Just like we see lawyers, women lawyers who wear the dress I am wearing, right? A coat gown and everything, and just wear a headscarf. So how is that a disrespect? So same principle applies even to a school. And I think that's the, so there was a completely direct analogy. And in my view, I think the Justice Dhulia has very directly and correctly applied that here.
And we had in fact argued that the case is squarely covered by Bijoy Emmanuel. That was the argument. That was the argument on our side. Yes.
Sir, now what does this really mean for the girls in Karnataka? Because now this matter goes to a larger bench. It is going to be, which is going to first consider all of these 11 questions that Justice Gupta has framed, and Justice Dhulia has presumably agreed with these questions at least. So what does this mean for these girls in Karnataka? Legally, what is currently the status of this hijab?
So, see, the judgment, one judge has set aside the judgment, one judge has upheld the judgment. You would have needed a quorum of 2 to set aside the judgment. So technically, in my view, I don't think the judgment of the High Court today stands set aside. So to that extent, the status quo may continue. We'll need to have, again, a closer look at the judgments in terms of if they have made any observations in terms of how the judgment will operate of the High Court. But just prima facie, that's the sense I get. And therefore, the new bench, which will be constituted, that will have a relook. So my sense is, for the moment, it will probably be status quo of what was already existing.
So, which basically means that at the moment, since the hijab is not allowed inside the schools, that status is likely to continue till the larger bench takes over.
That is correct.
So what does that mean now for this?
Only one thing I'll add, that the judgment related to only PUC, right? If you look at the operation on the ground, that is class 11th and 12th girls. Now, it has thereafter been expanded to other areas as well, right? By certain orders, or even informally it has been done. Now, to that extent, I don't think even the High Court judgment protects those kind of restrictions. Because what was upheld was only 11.
In the PU colleges.
Correct. So that's right. Only to that extent, the
government PU colleges. Government PU colleges.
So at the moment, only in the government PU colleges where uniforms are specifically prescribed, this kind of ban is likely to continue. But what about the other schools?
See, because now the matter itself is sub judice and there is no interim order, either the Chief Justice may pass some interim orders or may constitute a bench that will pass an interim order, or we may approach the Chief Justice for constitution of a bench for an interim order. But until an interim order is passed, then status quo will continue. And that status quo is that only insofar as the government PU colleges are concerned that prescribe the uniform, there is a restriction. The judgment had gone far beyond even the government order. in saying that it is not an essential practice, and even in other institutions, etc., it was being disallowed. So all of that now will have to go, because the judgment in that sense today is not good. It's not.
It is not good law.
It's not good. It's not. Or it may not. Yeah. It's not technically being set aside, but there is a judgment of the Supreme Court of one judge which says that it's bad law. So in that sense, I think the status quo continues.
In a grey area, and the status quo is likely to continue till a larger bench takes this over. Thank you very much, Mr. Farasad and Mr. Pasha, for speaking to India Today. Pooja, we just heard in great detail from two lawyers who have been appearing in this matter, who've been representing the petitioner women in this matter, Shadan Farasad and Nizam Pasha, who are very clearly saying that at this moment...
We heard what they said, but I have a quick question for you in clarification. If you can tell us, until the larger bench makes a decision on this, does the Karnataka High Court verdict prevail?
Well, that is exactly the question I just asked the lawyers as well, Nabila. And what they are saying is that this is a bit of a grey area, because the two judges have very clearly dissented on whether the High Court judgment was correct or not. Till a larger bench takes a call, at this moment, the Karnataka High Court verdict and the status quo as it existed, because remember, there is no stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict at the moment, at least. We do not know what is in the detailed judgment, if any observations have been made with regard to the current operation of the Karnataka High Court judgment. In fact, this is a question I think I will take back to the lawyers at one point. Mr. Pasha, if I can just, Mr. Pasha, if I can just take this question to you, sir. At the moment, there is no stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict. There has never been a stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict from the Supreme Court. So does that mean that the status quo and the operation of the Karnataka High Court verdict will continue?
See, it requires at least two judges to stay the judgment, and because now the matter, there's been a disagreement and the matter is still pending in the court, so the question of what happens next is still at large. So either the Honorable Chief Justice will constitute a bench, which will then decide at least on the interim what will happen. But until then, status quo is likely to continue, because in that sense there is no change insofar as the ground position is concerned.
And this bench has not made any observations, at least in open court, with regard to the High Court operation of the High Court verdict.
So the order that they passed at the end, a conjoint order, was that the file be placed before the Honorable Chief Justice for constitution of an appropriate bench. That's the only order that was passed.
Are we likely now to see you or any of the other petitioners going to the Chief Justice and asking for an urgent resolution to this?
That is, see, we do wish for an urgent resolution of the dispute, but at what stage, mentioning, etc., all these things are matters of strategy that all the parties will collectively have to decide as to when, we have to move an application, appropriate application, how long that will take is not something that I can immediately comment on. That's something that all the parties and all the council together will take a decision.
But it is something that the parties will have to do, considering that this grey area exists.
Yes. So see, you have to understand that the file has been placed before the Chief Justice, so it's already before him for constitution of a larger bench. In that sense, it's not something we have to do. But we may approach the Chief Justice for an early constitution, etc., depending on how long it takes. If the bench is being constituted readily and soon, then it may not even require a mentioning. But that's something, like I said, it's a matter for time and strategy that we'll see when and if it's required.
Has Justice Gupta in his verdict said anything about why he believes that the Karnataka High Court verdict was correct, or was that part not read out?
No, he did not read out his reasoning. He read out the questions that he framed, and he said that he has decided all the questions against the appellants, and that's all that he said.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Nabila and Pooja, I hope that has answered the questions that we've been discussing for the last several minutes. There is currently a grey area as far as the implementation of the Karnataka High Court verdict is concerned. The lawyers are saying that till there is a clear
Anisha,
stay on the matter.
Stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across to Bhopal. As we know that this has far-reaching effects, and Bhopal as well, some of the Muslim women who have come out wearing the hijab. Ravish Pal, who's joining us to bring us their perspective on this. Ravish, over to you. Get us their sentiment. वो बोलना क्या चाहते हैं?
Yes, if you have these girls with us and they all are wearing hijab, they are the girls who are in center stage of this entire issue. So let's ask them what they think about this whole issue about hijab. आपको क्या लगता है सना कि किस तरीके से ये जो पूरा इश्यू चल रहा है, अभी ये मामला और आगे भी जाना है, आप लोग हिजाब पहन के कॉलेज आती हैं, क्या आप लोगों को कहना है इस पूरे इशू?
हिजाब हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है। हिजाब में हम लोग बहुत सुपीरियर फील करते हैं। इसमें हमें किसी चीज़ की रोक टोक नहीं होती है, हम लोग सेफ्टी फील करते हैं इसमें। जो जस्टिस जूलिया का इंस्ट्रक्शन है, मतलब जो उनका वो है, वो उसका हम लोग दिल से इस्तकबाल करते हैं। उन्होंने हमारे लिए इतना सोचा कि हिजाब अगर हमारी पढ़ाई में बाधा हो तो वो नहीं होना चाहिए, बट ये हमारी पढ़ाई में कोई बाधा नहीं है। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इससे हम लोग बहुत सुपीरियर फील करते हैं। इसमें हम लोग को बहुत सेफ्टी रहती है, हम हर चीज़ इसमें कर सकते हैं, इसमें हमें कोई परेशानी नहीं है। हमारे पास एक हमारी आइडेंटिटी है, ये हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है, और ये हमारे अल्लाह ने हमें इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया है कुरान में कि हमें ये फॉलो करना है। तो ये हमारा
वो एक बात कही जाती है कि राइट टू एजुकेशन है तो राइट टू इक्वलिटी भी है। एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट पे लोग रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिस से दूर रहें।
वैसे तो हमारे सबसे पहले ये राइट है, फंडामेंटल राइट है हमारा कि हमें हिजाब पहनना है। और सबसे पहले तो ये हमारा अल्लाह ताला का हुक्म है। हम गवर्नमेंट के कहने पे नहीं चलेंगे इतना, हम अल्लाह ताला के कहने पे चलेंगे। अल्लाह ताला का हुक्म है कि इसे पहनो, इससे आप पहनकर जो करना है आपको करो, अच्छे से घूमो, पढ़ाई करो, सब कुछ करो। तो इसलिए हम लोग, और वैसे भी हम लोग इसमें बहुत सेफ फील करते हैं, प्रोटेक्टेड फील करते हैं, और बहुत अच्छा लगता है हमें।
आपको लगता है इसमें कुछ ये कंट्रोवर्सी होनी भी चाहिए?
If I can interrupt you for a brief second.
शुरू हुआ कि एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट।
Ravish, if I can interrupt you for a brief second, I'd like you to ask those girls if they're okay to study in madrasas. You know, there are questions being raised. If you want to study in a secular institution, you've got to go by the rules and the guidelines. If you want to study with the hijab, then study in a madrasa. Madrasa में पढ़ लो, ये secular institutions में क्यों पढ़ना है? वो कहना क्या चाहती है? Please ask that question if you can.
ये एक सवाल आ रहा है बार बार कि अगर आप लोग को हिजाब ही पहनना है तो आप लोग मदरसे में जाकर पढ़ लीजिए, सेकुलर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में जाकर के क्यों पढ़ना, आप मदरसे में पढ़ लें। ये भी एक बात निकल के सामने आ रही है।
नहीं, ये बहुत अलग बात है, ये बहुत गलत बात है कि अगर हम हिजाब फॉलो करते हैं हम मदरसे में क्यों पढ़ें। अगर हम हमारे अल्लाह का रूल्स फॉलो कर रहे हैं, उनके इंस्ट्रक्शन फॉलो कर रहे हैं, तो क्या हम मदरसे में ही जाके पढ़ेंगे? हमारे पास राइट नहीं है। अगर हमारे पास फंडामेंटल राइट है तो हमारे पास, इंडिया तो वैसे भी सेक्युलर है, तो हमारे पास ये राइट नहीं है कि हम यहाँ पर जाके पढ़ें। या मतलब ये कौन सी बात होती है कि अगर हम हिजाब पहन रहे हैं तो हम मदरसे में ही पढ़ सकते हैं, हम स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ सकते। हिजाब से कोई परेशानी नहीं है। जब हमें कोई परेशानी नहीं है हिजाब पहन के पढ़ने से, तो किसी को हमें हिजाब पहन के पढ़ने देने से क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
आपको क्या कहना है इस पे, हिजाब पहन के एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट या फिर मदरसा?
एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट, हम मुस्लिम गर्ल्स की भी चाहत होती है कि हम लोग अच्छे स्कूल्स में पढ़ें। हम लोग क्यों मदरसे में पढ़ें? मदरसा भी अच्छा होता है, लेकिन इतना ज़्यादा अच्छी उधर प्रॉपर एजुकेशन नहीं मिल पाती है। हम लोग भी चाहते हैं कि हम लोग अच्छे इंटरनेशनल स्कूल्स में पढ़ें, अच्छे हम लोग का एजुकेशन हायर करें। तो इसलिए हम लोग को लगता है कि अच्छे स्कूल्स में पढ़ना ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है।
किसी ने उनको दबाव डाला है कि हिजाब पहनने के लिए, were they forced, और क्या उम्र में उन्होंने क्या उम्र में हिजाब पहना है? क्या what age have these girls worn the hijab? Were they forced to wear the hijab? And what do they really feel the hijab's significance is in the Quran? A quick word from them. Have they been forced?
या जी, आप लोगों को कोई फोर्स किया गया था कभी, या फिर आपने कब से हिजाब पहनना शुरू किया?
जी, हमने अपनी मर्जी से हिजाब पहना है, कभी कोई किसी को फोर्स नहीं करता है। ये हमारा हक है, ये अल्लाह ताला ने हमको हुक्म दिया है कि हमें हिजाब पहनना है, इस वजह से हम हिजाब पहनते हैं। किसी का कोई इशू नहीं होता है कि आप लोग हिजाब पहनो या कुछ भी। हमारा अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से हुक्म है जो हर मुसलमान पर वो है।
All right, you know, Ravish, we heard you, Pooja. This precisely is the argument that the Muslim girls say that they are not forced. They probably have worn it at a younger age, but they say that this is what requires for us to do in the book in Islam.
But this is also where, Nabila, the debate comes in.
Basically, it's the
conditioning of how patriarchy is conditioned at a very young age. Also, perhaps, was this a missed opportunity today to counter the religious conservatives, to counter patriarchy? Because this is again now going, remember, to the CJI, the Chief Justice of India, to constitute an appropriate bench, a 3-5-9 bench later. And this is going to be continuing. For now, the ban, according to our reporters on the ground, we'll quickly go across to them as well. But I'm joined by Yasmin Farooqi. She's a member of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board. They appear to, of course, be in support of the headscarf that was being implemented in some of these educational institutions in Karnataka and other states as well. Yasmin Farooqi, how do you look at this? कैसे देखती हैं आज ये जो verdict आया है? स्प्लिट है, एक जज ने अपहेल्ड किया है बैन को, एक ने कहा है कि हम आगे. यास्मीन हमारे साथ मौजूद रहे. एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर ऑफ कर्नाटका BC Nagesh is speaking. He was the man speaking from the first day. Let's listen in.
Judgment ಏನೇ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಇತ್ತು ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಮತ್ತು ಬುರ್ಕಾದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಹೋರಾಟ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಿತವಾಗಿರೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಿತವಾಗಿರೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕಿತ್ತು.
We really hope that the Supreme Court would give a positive judgment.
ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಹೈಯರ್ ಬೆಂಚ್ ಹೋಗಿದೆ.
This is gone now. It's a split verdict. This has gone to a higher bench.
ಬರೋ ತನಕ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕಾಯತ್ತೆ.
Now we are going to wait until the final verdict comes.
ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟಿನ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಏನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಅದೇ ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ.
All right. Here the Education Minister says that until the final verdict from the Supreme Court comes, the Karnataka High Court's order will prevail.
ಯಾವುದೇ ತರವಾದಂತ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್ಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇಲ್ಲ.
There is, and we insist, as per the Karnataka High Court's order, educational institutions will not allow any religious symbols inside classrooms.
ಅದೇ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಶಾಲೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು.
And on the same grounds, students will have to continue coming to classrooms.
As a democratic government, we welcome whatever the judgment we have received today from the Supreme Court. But we had expected a better judgment because, as you know that, throughout the world, women are demanding not to wear hijab, not to wear burqa. But there is a split judgment in the Supreme Court today. So whatever the Karnataka High Court had given the order, that is valid as on today. So we are going to follow the rules which are framed according to Karnataka Education Act in Karnataka. Definitely three-bench Supreme Court is going to think everything on the demand of the students and the order of the Karnataka Education Department. And we expect a better judgment there.
So, hijab will be henceforth banned. Will continue the ban?
Yeah, the ban of hijab will continue. As you know that Karnataka Education Act and rule does not permit any religious items inside the class. So we are very clear that no student can wear hijab inside the class.
So are you disappointed with not getting complete verdict because it has gone to a larger bench, or you expected this?
The matter is going to continue.
The matter will continue.
No, I had expected that, as I said, worldwide ladies are demanding they will not wear hijab, they will not wear burqa. Even in the countries like Iran and Iraq and countries like Switzerland, etc., ladies are demanding their right to, about particularly wearing hijab and burqa. In light of that, I had expected that the Supreme Court judgment may uphold the Karnataka High Court verdict. But I have not been disappointed because, as you know, that Supreme Court is Supreme Court. Anyone who believes in democratic setup has to accept the judgment of the Supreme Court, and we have accepted.
So finally, sir, the Congress was talking about this hijab row since January. Now the court verdict has come. Will you ask the opposition also to let this topic go away and not make it political?
No, actually, as you know that, Congress always fight elections not on the development issues or the people issues. They always want to fight on emotional issues, particularly as one particular religion is most emotional. They want to concentrate on that votes, and they have done not now. Since 1947 up to today. Why did they brought Article 370? To see that one particular community votes will be polarized towards Congress. The special benefits which has been given. As you know, there are very small minority communities in the country, but one or two particular community has been taken, considered as minority and given the special status to them. But there are many small religions which are very minute, and they have not got anything when Congress is ruling. When Congress was ruling.
Is there any fresh circular that you will give? Or
No, our old circular is valid because the judgment of the Karnataka High Court is still valid. The same circular will continue.
So, final question. Any message to all the organizations which are supporting hijab, CFI, PFI, and before many other organizations are also supporting? Will you ask them also to be quiet and because respect the verdict?
It is an independent nation. Everyone has right to speak, and they will be always want to split this society, and they will be splitting. They are using hijab to split the society.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nagesh, Karnataka's education minister, remember his position right now is of extreme significance because it was the education department, it was the schools, colleges, pre-university institutions in Karnataka, first in Udupi, where that furor had started. 6 students started to protest, and then it spread across Karnataka and even across the country, and now the matter is in the top court. A quick word now from BJP spokesperson Mohan Vishwa, who's been waiting with us for a long time. Other guests are also joining us. This is the biggest, the top story of the day. It's a split verdict by the top court, and of course all eyes will be on how Karnataka reacts to it on the ground. Mohan Vishwa, what happens now in the state? Of course it's politics. Of course, it's elections now, anytime that's the state is set to face. But what do you now do as a party in the state? Because it's a split verdict. It's only going to continue as a legal matter. The ban for now stays as per the Karnataka High Court till a constitution bench is then appointed by the Chief Justice of India. How is the streets of Karnataka going to look like? Will the BJP ensure that there is no sort of either side violence erupting again?
See, similar things happened in the past also when we removed Article 370 or in the case of CA also. But the law and order has been taken care properly across India. The similar thing happened in the state of Karnataka also. I don't think so, such kind of situation that as of now, since there is a split judgment, and the matter has been referred to Chief Justice to form the bigger bench. Till then, obviously, the rule of the land, the High Court judgment will continue. As our education minister told very clearly, till then, it will be a ban on hijab in schools across the state of Karnataka. So I hope, as we respect the judgment given by the Supreme Court as of now, the other side also, who are against it or who are far for it, both of them should respect the judgment. I don't think so any, law and order situation problem arises in the state of Karnataka. So we are equipped to tackle that. So nothing that kind of sort will happen.
All right, the one thing that one should appreciate the BJP government, since I'm from Karnataka, is that law and order situation is usually under control. And that's what we see in parts of Karnataka as well, when the protests erupted in different parts of coastal areas. Yes, we did see the opposition, or rather we saw a group that was condemning hijab come out on the streets on large scale, and there were violent protests that broke out, but it was quick. The Karnataka police were quick to actually douse those violent protests in no time. So we're looking at a positive approach there when it comes to law and order, as the police
but it's
have
also
been
the election
quite vigilant.
season.
Yeah, it's election season, but I'd really like to credit the government and the police because they've really managed to maintain law and order. These protests could have really gone out of hand.
Absolutely.
It could have led to communal riots, which is what we're thankful today that hasn't happened. And that's why I'm saying great job by the government as well as the Karnataka police for handling that situation. But a quick word from Nalini, who's tracking court for us, joining us live. Nalini, if you can give us an understanding yet again, what a split verdict really means, and was this anticipated? We did know more or less that there was going to be a split verdict coming in, but we weren't sure whether this was going to be contradictory or concurring. Tell us a little more on Justice Gupta and Justice Dhulia's verdicts, both of them now who are basically in contradicting each other, which will now be presented to a higher bench, which will be again broken down in all its complexities. So we're hoping for another month or longer of this debate to go on.
Well, Nabila, it can be possibly longer, but the biggest takeaway that's coming from the Supreme Court today is that there is no stay on the hijab ban that was put in place by the Karnataka High Court, which means that the ban stays in place. The hijab, wearing of hijab will still not be allowed in the educational institutions in Karnataka. And at the same time, because the verdict is split, the matter will be referred to a 3-judge bench. Now, who are going to be those 3 judges who are going to be part of this bench is something that's going to be decided by the CJI, which is why they've said that the petitions will be placed before the CJI to list the matter before an appropriate 3-judge bench. It's not likely that the CJI himself will be a part of this bench because there's less than a month left for him to retire from his post, after which Justice D.Y. Chandrachud will take over as the next Chief Justice of India. So it might be possible that the entire issue might get delayed till the 9th of November when Justice Chandrachud takes oath as the 50th Chief Justice of India. But at the same time, like I told you, the biggest takeaway is that the status quo is maintained. The Karnataka High Court order very much stays in place because the judgment from the Supreme Court is a split verdict, and now the matter will go through a 3-judge bench. Now, what will happen when the matter goes through a 3-judge bench? They will essentially be looking at 2 things. One, they'll be looking at as to whether or not the ban on hijab should be allowed to continue, or should it be set aside. And second, and the most important thing they'll be looking at are the 11 questions that have been put in place by Justice Hemant Gupta, who upheld the Karnataka High Court order. He said that there are 11 questions that he's framed to consider as to whether or not this matter should in fact go to a 9-judge bench. The reason why Pooja and Nabila, they've talked about the matter going to a 9-judge bench is because the Sabrimala issue, if you remember, is currently pending before a 9-judge constitution bench. And there are a lot of overlapping issues between the Sabrimala case as well as this case, because both of them talk about what are the essential religious practices in a religion and to what extent they impact the fundamental rights of the citizens. So that is why he's raised the question as to whether or not the hijab ban should also go to a 9-judge bench, which will now be considered by a 3-judge bench. And in case they decide that yes, this is indeed fit to be placed before a 9-judge bench, then it can be even longer before we get a
it's a long process. It's an elaborate legal process. There's a protocol and procedure. So first the CJI appointed bench, a 3-judge bench will decide which other bench it will go to. Nalini Sharma breaking it down for us.
You know, I'm just saying that when the hijab protests broke out, it was Uttar Pradesh elections. Now when the verdict is come, briefly the split verdict, you have Karnataka elections coming in. By the time possibly the verdict comes out, we'll see 2024 Lok Sabha elections. So we're only hoping that this is not coloured by politics. But let me quickly cut across to Sagai Raj, who is joining us with one of the petitioners there to understand how she receives this news.
We are joining with one of the petitioner in hijab case, Mr. Hussain Wazir Bigre. Thank you so much for talking to India Today, sir. सर, आप जो वर्डिक्ट है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वर्डिक्ट है हिजाब के ऊपर, उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं सर? स्प्लिट वर्डिक्ट आया है।
देखो, यहाँ पर जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बैठे हुए जजेस हैं, वो यहाँ के कानून का एकदम टॉप मोस्ट पोस्ट पे है और उनको सारी चीज़ पता है, यहाँ की संवैधानिक क्या क्या राइट्स होती है और उसमें फंडामेंटल्स राइट्स क्या होती है। इसके बारे में 2 ओपिनियन यहाँ पर ऑलरेडी 2 जजेसों ने डिस्क्लोज किया है, जिसमें जस्टिस दुलिया ने जो अपील्स थे उसको अपहोल्ड करके यहाँ के गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डर को रिजेक्ट किया है। हेमंत गुप्ता सर ने उसको अपील को रिजेक्ट करते हुए कुछ हमने 11 क्वेश्चंस था, उसको सब अपील्स के हमने आंसर दिया है, इतना ही बताया। लेकिन और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कुछ रेफरेंस इन्होंने नहीं दिया। इस वजह से हमें उम्मीद है कि यहाँ पर अभी चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया के सामने हमारे जो बच्चे जो अपील डाले हैं वो गया है। हमें आशा है कि डेफिनेटली वो हमारे फेवर में, यहाँ के संविधान के फेवर में वो डिसीजन देंगे।
सर, अभी जो एक्सपेक्टेशंस आपके ये वर्डिक्ट के ऊपर, देश इसके ऊपर वेट,
ये एक संतुष्ट क्या है, 50% पार्टली जो चीज़ है वो जो अपील के फेवर में आया। ये सेकेंड थिंग्स क्या है, जितने भी वहाँ पर बैठे हुए उनको ऐसा नहीं है कि उनको सब मालूम नहीं है, सब मालूम है। मालूम रहते हुए उन्होंने अपना ओपिनियन डिस्क्लोज किया है, उसको हम लोग रेस्पेक्ट करते हैं। अभी नेक्स्ट हम लोग चीफ जस्टिस के फेस देख रहे हैं, वहाँ से क्या कुछ आशादायक कुछ निर्णय आ सकता है?
हिजाब इशू के ऊपर यहाँ पे भी बहुत ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स टीसी लिया है.
Guy Raj, with one of those petitioners, Pooja, it's ironic that we are seeing many of these girls actually coming out in protest, but we see petitioners being fronted by male members. The men are basically filing those petitions.
And that perhaps is also reflective of, that's where the allegations have come in.
This is precisely what I don't agree.
Or fronted by someone.
And it's contradictory time and again. If women are saying that they are empowered and that the hijab makes them feel empowered and superior, then why are men fronting these petitions? That's my question. But let me quickly cut across to Yasmin Farooqi, who's a member of the the All India Muslim Personal Law Board. A quick word, Yasmin. We see that, that there are versions coming in, people asking, why are you insisting on wearing a hijab inside secular institutions? Wear a hijab in your madrasas, wear it in minority institutions. Why is this force, for wearing it in institutions where they have set guidelines? What would you say?
एक बात मैं आपको बता दूं कि मैं कोई प्रवक्ता नहीं हूँ मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड की, तो उसके बिहाफ पे मैं कोई बात नहीं करती हूँ. मेरी अपनी पर्सनल राय, मैं आपको फिर यही बात कहूंगी कि देखिए, इस वक्त राय कोई भी देना, 2 जस्टिस हैं जो कि कानूनदां हैं, जो बहुत बेहतरीन कानून जानते हैं, और वो 2 जस्टिस भी अपनी राय अलग रख रहे हैं. इसका मतलब ये है कि जो ये सही भी है और गलत भी है. वहीं आके मेरी बात रुकेगी कि ये आपका पर्सनल मैटर है. अगर कोई ओढ़ के सर ढक के जाना चाहता है तो इतनी कितनी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है. देन दूसरी बात, मैं आपको यहाँ ईरान का जरूर एक हवाला दूंगी, क्योंकि हम इस बात के खिलाफ हैं कि उन पे जबरदस्ती नहीं की जाए, जबकि वहाँ कानून है, लॉ है कि वहाँ हिजाब पहनना जरूरी है. उसके बावजूद भी आज हम ये कह रहे हैं कि जबरदस्ती मत करो. तो आज हम भी यहाँ पे भी वही बात कहेंगे कि जबरदस्ती मत करो. अगर कोई बच्ची पहन के जाना चाहती है, उसे वो चीज पसंद है, देखिए आजकल पोल्यूशन भी है, सारी दुनिया की बात है, तो उसको उसकी इजाजत देनी चाहिए. क्योंकि देखिए, मैं आप मजहब की अगर आप बात करें तो ये बिल्कुल फैक्ट है कि मजहब के में इस्लाम में बिल्कुल ये है कि आप सर ढकिए, हिजाब पहनिए.
ये तो
अब यास्मीन, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, मॉडेस्टली बोला है स्क्रिप्चर्स, लेकिन यास्मीन जी आप ईरान की भी बात ला रहे हैं, जो फैक्ट है वहाँ भी प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे हैं चॉइस पे, लेकिन वहाँ तो मार दे रहे हैं लड़कियों को जो नहीं ढक रही हैं, उनको तो जान से मार दिया जा रहा है. कम से कम कर्नाटका में तो लीगल फाइट हो रहा है.
मैं वही बात कह रही हूँ, उसके बावजूद भी वही बात मैं कह रही हूँ कि मैं उसके खिलाफ हूँ. मैं वही बात आपको कह रही हूँ कि वहां कानूनन है कि पहनो, लेकिन देखिए, जबरदस्ती करने का किसी पे कोई हक नहीं है. उन लोगों को हक नहीं है कि उसको मारा जाए या लड़कियों पे जबरदस्ती किया जाए. बिल्कुल उनकी मर्जी है वो पहने या नहीं पहने. आज के जमाने में ये चीजें गलत हैं. अच्छा, धर्म की अगर आप बात कहते हो तो बिल्कुल इस्लाम में ये फर्ज है कि आप अपना सर ढकें. ये सारी चीजें देखिए, आपको पता है ये चीजें सरदारों को भी, पूरी बात होने दीजिए, सिर्फ 2 मिनट 1 मिनट से
बिल्कुल खत्म करिए अपना व्यू.
सरदारों में भी आपको पता है कि बाल कटाना नहीं चाहिए, कड़ा पहनना चाहिए, लेकिन वहां पे भी मर्जी है. बहुत सारे लोग अब बाल कटवा रहे हैं, बहुत सारे लोग दाढ़ी भी कटवा रहे हैं. तो धर्म में है, लेकिन अगर ये भी एक अपनी, जो नहीं मानता वो नहीं मानता, तो इसको आप जवाज मत दीजिए कि साहब कुरान में नहीं लिखा, कानून में, धर्म में है, लेकिन इंसान अपनी मर्जी की जिंदगी भी जीता है. तो मैं वो बात कहना चाहती हूँ कि यहाँ आप सिर्फ ये बात रखिए कि आपकी मर्जी है. अगर वो बच्चियां सर ढकना चाहती हैं, उनको एजुकेशन से महरूम नहीं कर सकते. एजुकेशन
एक क्वेश्चन है यास्मीन जी कि 5 साल की लड़कियों को 5 साल की लड़कियों को मर्जी का मतलब क्या होता है? अगर 5 साल की बच्चियों को अगर हिजाब पहनाया जाता है तो उनको उनकी मर्जी पूछी जाती है?
नहीं, बिल्कुल आप सही बात कह रही हैं. अगर 5 साल की बच्ची ये कहे कि मैं तो आजाद हूं, मैं घर से भागना चाहती हूं, तो क्या आप वो करने देंगे? तो जब तक वो बालिग नहीं है, माँ बाप की मर्जी है. ये फैक्ट है. हम किस स्कूल में पढ़ाना चाहते हैं बच्चे को, ये हमारी मर्जी है कि हम किस स्कूल में डाल रहे हैं, हम क्या पढ़ाना चाहते हैं.
यास्मीन जी, आप हमारे साथ जुड़े रहिए. This is a highlight I think here today. Until kids are adults, it's all the rights of the parents. Yeah, it's the supervision of the parents, and the parents decide how the child will grow. Let me quickly cut across to Anisha speaking to Salman Khurshid, who is the lawyer of one of the petitioners there. Listen in.
speaking to senior advocate and parliamentarian Mr. Salman Khurshid. Sir, thank you very much for speaking to India today. Sir, your first reaction to this particular verdict, what does this mean really?
Well, I think it's a far-reaching decision. Nothing comes, in a sense, effectively from this decision because it's a split decision between two honourable judges, and therefore the matter has been placed before the Chief Justice to take the matter forward, which would either be referring it to a constitutional bench because that was a point that was involved, or it will just go to a larger bench of 3 judges that will resolve the conflict. So we have to wait as to what happens. But I think the arguments of Justice Dhulia's judgment are speaking, and with the 9 judges of Swami, where choice has been made, a choice of an individual, autonomy of an individual has been placed on a very high pedestal. And his judgment, I do believe, is consistent with the 9 judges, but it's still left open now for a larger bench to decide.
Well, sir, just for a clarification, sir, what does this mean really for the girls in Karnataka right now? Because the Karnataka High Court verdict has not technically been set aside, but Justice Dhulia has set us aside while Justice Gupta has upheld it.
Well, clearly, it has to be taken in the context. There are no orders that might be said to be majority orders reversing the Karnataka High Court judgment. But there's a big question mark now on the Karnataka High Court judgment. If one judge of the division bench of the Supreme Court has cast doubt and in fact has rejected it. Therefore, I should imagine that the government and institutions concerned must pay due thought to what should be done in the circumstances in which the Supreme Court, at least one judge, has cast doubt on what the judgment has provided, and therefore not enforce it till such time as the Supreme Court can then take a further view. But
sir, you're giving that opinion, but as I speak to you, the Education Minister of Karnataka is giving a press conference where he's saying that the hijab will continue to remain banned and...
It's for the Education Minister to decide how much respect to give to a Supreme Court split decision. It's not for me to tell him what to do. I imagine the Education Minister does not have much experience of law or of judicial decision making. If he did, might have taken a different view. But that's really for him and his government to decide.
So you're saying that at the moment the Karnataka government should not enforce this GO?
I'm quite clear that morally they must be responsive to what the Supreme Court has done. Although the Supreme Court has not legally reversed the judgment, but morally it is very clear that the Supreme Court has not approved of that judgment.
Okay.
The Supreme Court together has not approved of that judgment. The government should show some accommodation towards the Supreme Court and wait till the Supreme Court can take a final view on this.
Okay. So if I may ask, what is the next step now for the petitioners? You were appearing for several of these petitioners. What does this mean now? Because the Chief Justice will have to take a call on creating a larger bench.
Yes, absolutely. There's not much the petitioners can do till the Chief Justice decides to send this matter to a larger bench. And then when the larger bench is seized of the matter, the petitioners can then seek whatever interim relief they want from the larger bench.
So if you're tuning in just now to India Today, the top story is the split verdict on the hijab ban, and with regard to the Karnataka High Court order that the Supreme Court has now said just about a short while ago. What does that mean? Let me explain and break it down for you. Now that there is a split verdict by the 2-judge bench, which means the hijab ban in the campuses will stay, at least for now, for temporarily, because the next legal procedure will have to be figured out. What does that mean with regard to the schools and colleges in Karnataka? The status quo till the final Supreme Court verdict. Status quo means like it was till now, it continues. No overtly religious expression allowed, symbolism with regard to uniform where it is in government institutions. Karnataka High Court order, which means to remain in effect till the time there's a new judge bench and the hearing again begins with the larger bench. A larger 3-judge bench will decide, which means the Chief Justice of India will appoint a larger bench, a constitutional bench, and they will then discuss with the fresh legal battle on the card. So it's going to be a long procedure, no relief anytime soon, no clarity yet, but with the larger bench will finally decide. Remember, split verdict 1-1. With regard to a larger bench, it will be that odd number and that verdict will give a final clarity of what happens. It could be most likely a 9-judge bench. What are the social activists, feminists saying on this? Since morning, we've been getting reactions, and now joining us on this telecast is Amber Zaidi, a very vocal social activist, even on the hijab issue. Amber, do we see this as a missed opportunity today? That we could have taken in and taken on the religious conservatives? We could have, perhaps this was the time to ensure that no other girl is forced into the burqas, at least in classrooms. Or do you think
Absolutely.
this is a legal procedure that we follow?
Nabila, it was
Pooja,
actually,
yeah.
Pooja, I was expecting a unanimous decision or a unanimous judgment on this matter today. As you know, in this crucial time when everybody is looking at India and we are seeing the rampant protest against hijab, across the world in Iran, and it was a very important day for us, and the people across the world were looking at India. Now the 2-judges bench delivered the split verdict in the hijab ban case today. Justice Hemant Gupta holds the ban and rules hijab is not an essential religious practice. Justice Sudanshu Dhulia strikes down the ban on hijab, says educational of girl child is most important, which means that bench failed to arrive at a consensus on this matter. Now it's going to get looked by a larger Supreme Court bench. If the larger court, this larger Supreme Court bench allows hijab for Muslim girls in future, and it will literally destroy the future of Muslim girls and the education for Muslim girls. The school will be reluctant to give admission to Muslim girls, and even if some school do give admission to Muslim girls, then Muslim girls could face the discrimination because of this hijab particularly. And we all know that this is the regressive practice and which is being forced on Muslim women since ages. If something is old and it is being practiced by people, we cannot say it is all right, it is justified. We have to, strike down such regressive practices because India is a secular democratic republic for a reason. And we should have strike down such thoughts and religious practices today.
And do you think, Amber, that we need to now hasten the process because it's going to be a bench that will hear, then appoint, and I'll take that question later. Nabila also can, to Yasmin Farooqi, who continues to be with us. But do you think the legal process should fasten it? It's about the education, the future of these girls.
That is a separate question, and we all always discuss whenever we discuss some issue, whether it's any criminal case or rape or anything. The judicial process in our country is very, very slow. Even the faster courts are not fast enough. So we need to work on that direction. Actually, the judicial activism required more to make things better in our country. That is very important.
From what we see here, Amber, we're looking at the Supreme Court now deciding that this matter needs to be presented to a larger bench, and this will be under the supervision of the Chief Justice of India. So a special bench will be now formed yet again to deliberate on this matter. But I only feel, Pooja, this is such a complex issue. It's a constitutional matter. So this has to be deliberated slowly and with much focus and precision.
And that's one of the reasons that Justice Mehta decided to ask 11 questions.
Yeah, long-standing judgment, and we'll have far-reaching repercussions in whatever way it goes. But a quick word on clerics. What do they think of this split verdict coming from the Supreme Court? I'm going to cut across to the views.
Maulana ji, how do you look at this? The Supreme Court has forwarded this to the larger bench. There has been a contradiction in the decision of both the judges are concerned. How do you see that?
Whatever has been said in the Supreme Court by one of the honorable judge, we welcome that he has said that it is a matter of personal choice and he has also said that it is related to the right to education, and education is very essential for all the children. So the manner in which this case has been taken up and whatever one of the judge has said, we welcome that, and we also welcome that this case has been referred to a larger bench. And as far as the religious angle is concerned, since this matter is, we think that much more religious, and as far as Islam is concerned, we all must know that whatever Allah has said in the Quran and whatever Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we consider all those things as the essential practice of our religion.
औरत को जो है वो डायमंड समझा है, इसलिए हिजाब में रहने का हुक्म दिया है। लिहाजा अगर से उसको बादारू पत्थर समझ लेते हैं तो उसको यूं ही सड़क पर छोड़ देते हैं। लिहाजा मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट से जो उम्मीद करूंगा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ज़रूर हिजाब के हक़ में फ़ैसला देगा, और उस जिस बच्ची को लोगों ने जिस तरीके से स्कूल से निकालने की और उसको घेरने की कोशिश की थी, उस बच्ची के हक़ में और हिजाब के हक़ में फ़ैसला आना चाहिए।
All right, now so Yasmin Farooqi, who's still with us, I'd like to take that question to you. Yasmin, यहाँ पर आपने थोड़ा compare किया ईरान और इंडिया के बारे में और the two governments and how they're dealing with the issue. I'd like to say my view here is it's wrong to compare India with Iran at this point for the only reason because Iran is an authoritarian regime, and what they're doing to those protesters there is awful, it's condemnable, shameful, and our hearts going out to those women who have been imposed a hijab rule on them, and they've been fighting it for decades. Versus India, like you rightly said, Pooja, we're fighting this legally. We are not an authoritarian regime, and we are so proud we are a country where we can take this up legally and fight this legally. But the only worry here is how fringe elements play out with this sentiment. Yes, the PFI was involved. Yes, the CFI was involved. I was on ground and I saw CFI representing many of these hijab petitioners there and fighting their cause. But I feel, from what I saw, that the fears of these girls were legit. The CFI or the PFI basically just tapped into those fears and got in.
And some of
those
the
girls
statements,
very willingly took their help because they felt
by
helpless.
the BJP netas were not very welcoming or warm. They were, in fact, some of them were seen adding to the fire as well. So
that's political. When it comes to girls' education, you can't go down straight to say that no, it's a regressive practice. You can't fight for it. You can't wear hijab anymore. So the sudden shock these girls get when they're going to school every day with the hijab, or out of the blue they're asked not to wear the hijab, it's obviously concerning. And it's worrisome. It should be handled in a more mature manner, possibly given them some kind of room. I still feel that maybe giving them a year's time to decide that maybe a hijab ban or a restriction inside educational institutions could have come into effect the following year once the girls finish their education and their exams, so that they decide whether they want to move to another college or institution or not.
कि थोड़ा कोई breathing period मिलना चाहिए था.
क्या यास्मीन थोड़ा breathing period अगर मिलता तो वो ठीक था आपके लिए? अगर एक साल के अंदर आप डिसाइड कर लीजिए बेसिकली नॉट 2022, 2023 या 2024 तक इंस्टीट्यूशंस बैन कर लेंगी, तब तक आप डिसाइड कर लीजिए, आप कंडीशन कर लीजिए आप कहाँ जाना है या वही पढ़ना है.
नहीं, मैं आपने एक बात अभी सवाल की कि कहा मुझसे कि ईरान का मैंने इसलिए नहीं दिया था, मैंने इसलिए ईरान की बात की थी आपसे कि वहां पे कानून है, उसके बावजूद भी हम ये कह रहे हैं कि अगर वो उनको मार रहे हैं तो वो गलत कर रहे हैं.
सही बात है, हमने भी वही कहा कि ईरान और इंडिया की अलग बात है, वो कंपैरिजन ही नहीं है.
हम कह रहे हैं गलत है, गलत बात है. अब हम उसकी बात नहीं करते, हम अपने यहाँ की बात करते हैं. और मैं फिर वहीं पे आके आपसे बात करूंगी कि ये डिसाइड जब दो जज ही नहीं कर पाए जो कि एक अथॉरिटी हैं, और उनको भी कहीं ना कहीं एक को ये लग रहा है कि नहीं ये गलत है, इसको बैन कर देना चाहिए, और एक को ये लग रहा है कि नहीं लड़कियों के लिए, लड़कियों के फायदे के लिए. अच्छा, दूसरी बात ये वही वाली बात आपको मैं फिर ये कहूंगी कि 24 में वहां इलेक्शन है, सारी कहानी इलेक्शन की है. तीसरी बात सबसे बड़ी मैं ये कहूंगी कि वहां पहले से हिजाब लड़कियां पहन के आ रही थी, अचानक नहीं पहना गया था कि साहब ये आपको कोई फसाद फैलाने के लिए किया गया. वहाँ का माहौल है, वहाँ बहुत बुर्का औरती हैं. और
यास्मीन जी एम्बर है हमारे साथ, एम्बर जैदी, वो कुछ कहना चाह रही है. एम्बर,
यास्मीन जी, जो जिन लड़कियों की आप बात करें कि वहाँ पर वो पहले से हिजाब और बुर्का पहनकर आ रही थी, तो वो पहले से हिजाब बुर्का नहीं पहन रही थी. अचानक से 6-7 लड़कियों ने हिजाब बुर्का पहन के आना.
मेरी बात पूरी होने दी होती ना, तब तो बात थी. इन्होंने बीच में काट के मेरी बात शुरू कर दी, इसलिए मैं अब क्या बात करूं.
आप बोल रही हैं, आप एक अगर गलत जानकारी दे रही हैं तो मैं आपको करेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रही थी कि ऐसा नहीं, अचानक से उन्होंने हिजाब
मैंने आपको गलत जानकारी बिल्कुल नहीं दी है. मेरे पास पूरे वहाँ के पेपर्स पढ़े हैं मेरे पास, मैं बिना जानकारी के बात
अच्छा यास्मीन जी, मेरा एक सवाल है यहाँ पर, एंड दिस इज बोथ टू एम्बर एंड यास्मीन। यास्मीन जी, पहले आपसे देखिए, ये तो फैक्ट है कि अगर एकदम हिजाब या बुर्का पहनना आप मना कर देंगे इन यंग लड़कियों को, तो इनको ये स्कूल से हट जाएंगी काफी, और ये हो भी रहा है। जैसा नबीला ने भी बताया, हजारों में लड़कियां हैं जिन्हें बैकआउट करना पड़ा। लेकिन फिर ये सवाल उन परिवारों पे भी तो उठना चाहिए जो माता पिता कह रहे हैं कि आपका बुर्का हिजाब नहीं हटेगा, आप बैठिए घर पे, आप मत पढ़िए। उन माता पिता को, उन परिवारों को सवाल कौन करेगा? क्या ये एक सोसाइटी का भी जिम्मा नहीं है? आप क्योंकि एक बोर्ड से जुड़ी हैं, आपकी आवाज इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो ये भी तो कहीं सोसाइटी को, कल्चर को आप जब चेंज करेंगे तो वो परिवारों पे भी तो सवाल उठना जरूरी है कि आपकी लड़की के लिए किताब जरूरी है या हिजाब जरूरी है?
देखिए मैं आपसे फिर वही बात कहूंगी, वो लड़कियां बालिग हैं, पढ़ी लिखी हैं, जो 12th और फर्स्ट ईयर तक जा रही हैं, वो बेवकूफ़ नहीं है। और आज की बच्ची ना इतनी पाबंद है अपने पेरेंट्स की। पेरेंट्स अगर कह रहे हैं तो अगर वो मोटिवेट, बच्ची, वही आपकी बात मैं कहूंगी कि वो बच्ची अपनी पेरेंट्स को मोटिवेट कर सकती है कि नहीं, मैं पढ़ी लिखी हूँ, मुझे आगे पढ़ना है, मुझे हिजाब नहीं पहनना। जिस तरह ईरान में वो लोग ये एहतजाज करेंगे कि हमें नहीं पहनना, हम पे पाबंदी मत लगाओ, इसी तरह मैं यहाँ की भी बात करती हूँ कि अगर वो लड़की कह रही है मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है, मुझे पहनना है, तो आप इसका फिर ऐसा करें कि पूरा एनालिसिस कर लें कि कौन बच्ची ये चाहती है और कौन बच्ची नहीं चाहती है। मेरा ये मानना है कि जो बच्चियां सड़क पे उतर के आई हैं, जो लोग एहतजाज कर रही हैं, इसका मतलब है वो पहनना चाहती हैं, वो खुश हैं उस चीज में, तो हम क्यों उनको पाबंद करना चाहते हैं? फिर आप मजहब की बात में, मैं फिर वही दलील दूंगी, बिल्कुल फर्ज है मजहब में, बिल्कुल ये है कि मजहब में पर्दा होना चाहिए, ये कुरान में
मजहब में ऐसा मैंडेटरी नहीं है, रेफरेंस दिया गया है। वैसे तो बहुत सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं, ऐसे तो बहुत सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं।
पूरी बात सुन लीजिए, पूरी बात सुन लीजिए
ना, आप बोली जा रही, किसी का सुन नहीं रही है। सबसे पहले तो कुरान की आयत है, ला इकरा, इकरा का मतलब है इल्म हासिल करो, जो कुरान में सबसे पहले गया वो तो इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, लेकिन आपके लिए एक रिग्रेसिव प्रोसेस है वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट, जो कि नहीं, आप लोगों को मजहब के नाम पर इन सारी चीजों को जस्टिफाई करवाते हैं, महिलाओं में इन सारी चीजों को आप इम्पोज कर रहे हैं, आप उसको जस्टिफाई करवा रहे हैं। महिला है, महिलाओं के अधिकारों की बात कीजिए, डोंट जस्टिफाई सच रिग्रेसिव प्रैक्टिसेस।
नहीं, यास्मीन जी आपको भी बहुत वक्त दिया, यास्मीन जी आपको भी बहुत वक्त दिया, ऐसा नहीं है कि आपकी बात काट रहे हैं, बल्कि एम्बर काफी देर तक रुके। आप बिल्कुल उंगली मत रखिए अपने पे।
I just have one clarification to make. एक मिनट यास्मीन जी, एक मिनट, just Amber, just one word. Amber, your take. एक मिनट यास्मीन जी. Amber's take was that these girls did not wear the hijab inside that institution, and it was all of a sudden conjured up, and then it became a huge movement. Now, let me clarify here, since I have been covering the hijab controversy right when it started from on ground. This is a very grey area, Pooja. Those 8 girls basically had taken new admission into that PU college.
Yes, that's right.
At that time, when the admission happened, they had online classes. So during the online classes, whether they are wearing hijab at home or not, that's not considered, right? When
then they land up in college.
Then they land up. When the college opened up and when they landed up in classrooms, that's when a couple of times they came without the hijab because the institution insisted you can't wear the hijab. So they didn't come with the hijab. Then a couple of times they came with the hijab also. They tried to insist that they want to wear it, It didn't happen. So that fight happened. So to try and make it look like they never wore the hijab and they all of a sudden, came out with these demands, and then the PFI and the CFI 100% guilty of instigating the crowds. But the point was that they tapped into real fears of these girls.
Amber, is this about PU colleges uniform that has now become this huge legal street issue, or do you think this is about simple politics, or this is much more? As someone from the community, do you think this is also about other questions that must be dealt with, that are being brushed away under the carpet?
Pooja, frankly and honestly, my concern is, and I'm really worried about the future and education of these, Muslim girls who are being dropped out of school. The 17,000 girls dropped out of school and they dropped their studies because of this regressive religious this politics, and we should talk about that. We should discuss this religious and regressive practices. Now, this Yasmin Farooqi, she has been justifying the hijab and burqa practices in the name of religion. This is concerning. We are living in a democratic country where we should talk about the education of girl child. We are not discussing that important aspects, but we are just trying to justify that it is all right. It is justified because it has been mentioned in Quran. There is no mention of such term hijab and burqa in Quran. It is being posed on women since ages.
There have been multiple references of covering the hair for whatever reasons, but no compulsion in the Quran.
Yes. It is only mentioned that cover your bosom, no, not to cover their hair. No, there is no mention not to cover their hair, only to cover their bosom, only that. And also there is a context and reference to link to that particular ayat. So we need to get into that real thing, that what is more important for us today is that education of the girl child. And we are not talking about that. Everybody is trying to justify that this regressive practice is most important.
Amber, when you say education of the girl child, do you believe that this judgment here should take into consideration that many girls would drop out of the education system if the ban is enforced? Now, anyway, Karnataka has enforced this ban. They're going to stick to the Karnataka High Court's order. Do you believe that, first of all, this is a progressive move, that the fact that we're even discussing it? I'm really glad that this controversy happened, and at least the Muslim community will today sit back and think, what's priority to them, education or religion? Education should be their priority, and that's what's even mentioned in the Quran, and that's what a guest very rightly said, that ilm is stressed in Quran multiple times. So educate yourself first, right? So point is, would you have been okay? Would it have been okay for this ban to have been enforced in a period of time? Basically, give these students some room to understand what this enforcement really means, and then decide whether they want to continue. In the middle of the year, right before examinations, enforcing this ban, leading to this shock among many of these girls who've always worn the hijab. Do you think that approach was right?
See, Nabila, we all have been discussing that the girl child is this education of girl child is very important, and they should have been allowed wearing hijab in the classroom. But we are not discussing about the mindset because of which the girls are being forced on hijab. The hijab is being posed in them, or burqa is being posed on them since ages. Nobody is just now. Yasmin ji has said कि 5 साल की बच्ची होती है तो उसके parents का right होता है उसको किस तरह करना है and all that. This is dangerous. You are posting regressive practices in the name of religion on such young child, and you are not giving them any option to choose. You are forcing something since a very early age and later you say this is the girl's choice, they feel safer. How can you feel safe just covering your head? Even girls are being raped and getting killed wearing burqa.
Yes.
The manners of girls are being killed who wear burqa. So how can you ensure that burqa or hijab is, the
Amber, stay on with me. And Yasmin here, I just overheard say that even in Iran they wear it, but they're still rebelling. So that clearly shows that, it's about a woman's choice. This is a discussion that is still ongoing.
It's basically patriarchy that is so ingrained in the system that we're finally glad that there is a conversation happening on this.
And it's slightly disheartening to hear a young girl say that she's, covered in a niqab and she feels safe. But, it's her view, absolutely. She has every right to. But let's go across. There's some breaking news coming in. Netas have started to react since the verdict. Samajwadi Party's Member of Parliament has given a bizarre statement on the hijab split verdict of the Supreme Court. He has said, he's a Member of Parliament, remember, saying women must not roam without the headscarf. The Samajwadi Party MP has said immoral activities will rise without the headscarf that the women are supposed and expected to wear. The condition will worsen around them without the headscarf. Listen in now to this Member of Parliament of the Samajwadi Party, Shafiqur Rahman. What has he said?
ये ईमानदारी से एक मजहबी मामला है, इस्लाम का मामला है। इस्लाम के अंदर मतलब ये कि जवान बेटियां और जो हैं वो हैं औरतों के लिए हिजाब का हुक्म दिया गया है कि वो बापर्दा रहें और बेपर्दा होकर बाज़ारों में गलियों में न घूमें। इससे चूँकि हालात बिगड़ते हैं, आवारगी बढ़ती है इससे। और आज अगर इसमें कोई पाबंदी लगाई जाती है कि हिजाब की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो ये कहते हैं, तो इससे समाज को भी न सिर्फ इस्लाम को बल्कि समाज को नुकसान होगा।
यास्मीन जी, आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन. यास्मीन फारूकी इज जॉइनिंग अस नाउ. यास्मीन जी, अब क्या होना चाहिए? वर्डिक्ट तो आ गया है, अभी फिलहाल तो रिस्ट्रिक्शन है हेडस्कार्फ पे. आप क्या कहती हैं? क्या लड़कियों को पुल आउट कर देना चाहिए अपने कॉलेजेस से?
एंड दिस एसपी लीडर, आई लाइक टू नो यास्मीन जी, ये कि आप क्या कहेगी?
इसी वजह से लड़कियां पहनती हैं.
एग्जैक्टली, कि लड़कियों को हिजाब नहीं निकालना चाहिए, नहीं तो वो विक्टिम हो जाएगी असॉल्ट का.
और यास्मीन जी, ये यूनिफॉर्म की बात है, ये ऐसा नहीं कि पूरे देश में हिजाब पहनना बंद कर दिया है मुस्लिम औरतों को. तो बताएं, ये समाजवादी पार्टी नेता, और अब क्या करें कर्नाटका की लड़कियां?
मैं टॉपिक से हट के बात कर रही हूँ, आपको अलग लगेगा. मैं बचपन से स्कूल में प्रार्थना पढ़ती आई हूँ. सरस्वती की आगे मूर्ति, वो फोटो होती थी उसकी. कभी किसी ने एहतजाज नहीं किया कि गवर्नमेंट स्कूलों में क्यों ये चीजें हैं. हॉस्पिटल्स में सब जगह मूर्तियां लगी हुई हैं. किसी ने कोई क्या लगना चाहिए, लेकिन हमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उससे. तो इस बात को आप उस तरह क्यों नहीं ले रहे कि कोई लड़की अपने सर पे दुपट्टा ओढ़ना चाहती है तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है? क्योंकि 24 तक में आप आने दीजिए, इलेक्शन होने दीजिए. सारी कहानी कर्नाटका से शुरू हो रही है, राजनीति है और कुछ नहीं है. मैं कुछ बोलूं, कोई और कुछ बोले, बोलते रहो, सारी कहानी है.
पर विद्या को रिस्पेक्ट करना भी तो कल्चर है. और दूसरी चीज मैं यहाँ भी कहूंगी, हम भी दूसरी प्रेयर्स पढ़ते थे. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ हिंदू प्रेयर्स पढ़ी जाती हैं. इन द स्कूल दैट आई हैव स्टडीड, आई हैव रेड अदर रिलीजियस प्रेयर्स एज वेल, एंड विद अ लॉट ऑफ प्राइड.
We celebrated high school also, celebrated Diwali, we celebrated Ganesha, we celebrated Eid, we celebrated Christmas.
जी, प्रार्थना होती थी एजुकेशन के लिए, विद्या के लिए, किसी एक धर्म के लिए नहीं होती थी. चलिए ठीक है, बट थैंक यू सो मच. यास्मीन फारूकी, एम्बर जैदी जॉइनिंग अस. यस जी मैम.
क्या आपको अगर ट्विस्ट करना ही है बात को तो करती रहिए.
बिल्कुल ट्विस्ट नहीं करना.
नहीं, बिल्कुल ट्विस्ट नहीं करना.
आपकी बात रखिए, आप बिल्कुल रखिए अपनी बात.
यास्मीन जी,
औरत का हक है, वो किस तरह जीना चाहती है.
यास्मीन जी, एक सेकंड
लगाओगे.
यास्मीन जी, आपका कोई ट्विस्ट नहीं हो रहा है. हम सिर्फ आपसे कॉन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हम समझना चाहते हैं कि आप हिजाब पहनती है, आप अपने आप सर ढकती है, तो आपका व्यू पॉइंट क्या है? बस इट्स जस्ट बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू हैव अ डिस्कशन सो वी बेटर अंडरस्टैंड द सेंटिमेंट्स ऑफ वुमेन हु वेयर द हिजाब. सो इफ यू we got your point and let me clarify, it's not trying to twist, it's only trying to have a civil discussion.
मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि मेरी मदर बुर्का ओढ़ती हैं, वो उनकी आजादी है. मैं बुर्का नहीं ओढ़ती, मैं सर पे दुपट्टा ओढ़ती हूँ, मेरी आजादी है. मेरी बेटी सर पे दुपट्टा नहीं ओढ़ती, जीन्स पहन के घूमती है, जॉब करती है, ये उसकी आजादी है.
बिल्कुल,
ये उसका
and that's precisely. Thank you very much, Yasmin ji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. हमें टाइम इतना ही है हमारे पास टाइम, but that's precisely the scenario in today's times. Muslim families, the grandmother possibly wears the hijab, the mother possibly does not wear the hijab, the daughter has adopted the hijab after growing up, suddenly getting into religion and wants to wear the hijab one day, and maybe the sister, the same two daughters, one sister is wearing jeans and a crop top, the other sister is wearing the hijab.
So right to choice or a school uniform.
That's precisely the scenario in today's times within Muslim families.
We want to keep discussing it, but after a very short break. Stay tuned. You're watching India Today, the biggest story, the split verdict of the Supreme Court.
You are watching India Today.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events, the true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Remember them? Amber Heard and Johnny Depp have both been busy with their lives ever since the defamation trial. And everything seems to be going quite well for Johnny. He's returning to movies with the role of King Louis XV in Jeanne du Barry, has found love in his former lawyer, Joel Rich, and recently made 20 times the profit for his Queensland mansion. This isn't just any house, but it is the place where the infamous incident of Depp losing his finger took place. Amongst the many fights that were mentioned in court of the former couple, this incident was one to stick out quite a bit. He sold this mansion in Australia for $40 million. The house had 10 rooms with 10 bathrooms and a wine cellar with a capacity of 2,000 bottles, along with a go-karting ground within that premises. To get into the details of this infamous incident, Heard had been throwing bottles at the actor, 2 bottles in fact, the second one resulting in a cut finger. Amber Heard did not agree to this version and said that Johnny Depp had instead been throwing those bottles due to anger, and that's how he cut his own finger. The incident has taken place in 2015 and has been brought up in trial multiple times. Now, as the dust settles on the defamation trial, Johnny Depp has been seen doing quite a lot of concerts with his close friend Jeff Beck. And Amber Heard, on the other hand, is peacefully living her life in Spain. She will be seen next in Aquaman 2.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
धूल आए पर घर पे ना टिक पाए।
Watching India Today, I'm Nabila Jamal. The hijab verdict still remains unsettled. split verdict that's come out by 2 judges. Now the matter will be taken to a larger bench, possibly a few months before the actual decision comes out. Until then, the Karnataka High Court verdict will prevail in the state of Karnataka. Let me take you through the top news, the headlines first. 2-judge bench delivers a split verdict in the hijab case. Justice Gupta bats for the ban, while Justice Dhulia bats for hijab. A matter of choice is what he says. The case now referred to a 3-judge bench. Karnataka government says hijab ban will continue for now. Kerala occult murders get more gruesome. Special SIT to probe secrets of Kerala's House of Horrors, where 2 women were chopped, cooked and eaten. Psychopath tantric arrested. Prime Minister Modi's mega infrastructure push in hill state Himachal flags off 4th Vande Bharat Express. lays foundation for Una Durg Park. Inaugurates IIT Una. Hydro projects as a Diwali gift now to people of Himachal. And storm over Kharge's Muharram whip. BJP launches big attack on Kharge, terms him anti-Muslim.
Our people say always in Hyderabad, Bakri Eid में बचेंगे तो मुहर्रम में नाचेंगे.
Here's some big news coming in. SP MP's bizarre statement that comes to fore on the hijab verdict. The SP MP says women must not roam without the hijab. He says that immoral activities will rise without the hijab. The condition will worsen without the hijab. This is the SP MP's statement coming on hijab verdict, and this precisely is what we denounce and something that women have been worried of. This kind of mindset, saying that a woman covering herself will save herself from any kind of atrocities, assault or crime against women. This is precisely what the SP MP has said, that crime against women will increase if they don't wear the hijab. SP MP's bizarre statement saying that women must not roam without the hijab. Immoral activities will rise without the hijab. Condition will only worsen without the hijab. Listen in.
ये ईमानदारी से एक मजहबी मामला है, इस्लाम का मामला है। इस्लाम के अंदर मतलब ये कि जवान बेटियां और ये जो हैं वो हैं औरतों के लिए हिजाब का हुक्म दिया गया है कि वो बापर्दा रहें और बेपर्दा होकर बाज़ारों में गलियों में न घूमें। इससे चूँकि हालात बिगड़ते हैं, आवारगी बढ़ती है इससे। और आज अगर इसमें कोई पाबंदी लगाई जाती है कि हिजाब की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो ये कहते हैं, तो इससे समाज को भी न सिर्फ इस्लाम को बल्कि समाज को नुकसान होगा।
All right, now the Supreme Court passes a split verdict on a batch of appeals challenging restriction on Muslim girl students wearing the hijab in educational institutions in Karnataka. Justice Hemant Gupta has dismissed the 26 appeals filed against the judgment of the Karnataka High Court, which held that hijab was not an essential practice and they will not allow for religious symbols like the headscarf to be worn inside educational institutions. Now, expressing divergence in this opinion, the other justice, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, set aside the Karnataka High Court judgment and held that the entire concept of essential religious practice was not essential to dispute here. In fact, Justice Dhulia had said that Karnataka High Court took the wrong path and hijab was basically just a matter of choice, referring to Article 19. He says this is only a matter of choice and nothing more. Dhulia claims that the foremost question on his mind was the education of the girl child. That was what was important and bothering. Meanwhile, the Bombay government claims that they will continue to enforce the hijab ban in the state until the final High Court verdict, the Supreme Court's verdict.
At the moment, there is no stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict. There has never been a stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict from the Supreme Court. So does that mean that the status quo and the operation of the Karnataka High Court verdict will continue?
See, it requires at least two judges to stay the judgment, and because now the matter, there's been a disagreement, and the matter is still pending in the court. So the question of what happens next is still at large. So either the Honourable Chief Justice will constitute a bench, which will then decide at least on the interim what will happen. But until then, status quo is likely to continue because in that sense there is no change insofar as the ground position is concerned.
And this bench has not made any observations, at least in open court, with regard to the High Court operation of the High Court verdict.
So the order that they passed at the end, a conjoint order, was that the file be placed before the Honourable Chief Justice for constitution of an appropriate bench. That's the only order that was passed.
Are we likely now to see you or any of the other petitioners going to the Chief Justice and asking for an urgent resolution to this?
That is, see, we do wish for an urgent resolution of the dispute, but at what stage, mentioning, etc., all these things are matters of strategy that all the parties will collectively have to decide as to when, we have to move an application, appropriate application, how long that will take is not something that I can immediately comment on. That's something that all the parties and all the council together will take a decision.
Justice Dhulia has differed with his view, and he has expressed that he has a differing view because a girl child faces a lot of problems while they are being sent to the schools and colleges, and their right to education is more important than wearing or not wearing a hijab.
औरत को जो है वो डायमंड समझा है, इसलिए हिजाब में रहने का हुक्म दिया है। लिहाजा अगर से उसको बादारू पत्थर समझ लेते हैं तो उसको यूं ही सड़क पर छोड़ देते। लिहाजा मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट से जो उम्मीद करूंगा कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ज़रूर हिजाब के हक़ में फैसला देगा और जिस बच्ची को लोगों ने जिस तरीके से स्कूल से निकालने की और उसको घेरने की कोशिश की थी, उस बच्ची के हक़ में और हिजाब के हक़ में फैसला आना चाहिए।
देखिए, आज का जो फैसला है, जो वर्डिक्ट, जो फ्रैक्चर्ड वर्डिक्ट है, इसका मतलब ये है कि इसका प्रभाव हाई कोर्ट के जजमेंट पर कुछ भी पड़ने वाला नहीं है। अब जो नई बेंच गठित होगी, नए बेंच का जो फैसला आएगा, उसी से हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट प्रभावित होगा। अगर वो फैसला हाई कोर्ट के अगेंस्ट है तो फैसला नहीं माना जाएगा हाई कोर्ट का, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो फैसला होगा वो मान्य होगा।
जस्टिस दुलिया ने जो अपील्स थे उसको अपहोल्ड करके यहाँ के गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डर को रिजेक्ट किया है। हेमंत गुप्ता सर ने उसको अपील को रिजेक्ट करते हुए कुछ हमने 11 क्वेश्चंस था, उसको सब अपील्स के हमने आंसर दिया है, इतना ही बताया। लेकिन अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कुछ रेफरेंस इन्होंने नहीं दिया, इस वजह से हमें उम्मीद है कि यहाँ पर अभी चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया के सामने हमारे जो बच्चे जो अपील डाले हैं वो गया है। हमें आशा है कि डेफिनेटली वो हमारे फेवर में, यहाँ के संविधान के फेवर में वो डिसीजन देंगे।
Justice Gulia has emphasized that the choice has been left to the lady. Whatever she wants to wear, she can wear. And the third thing which he has emphasized in this judgment is that he has emphasized on the education of the girl child. He has said how the girls in the villages and how the girls in the remote areas they work. They have to assist their families. Then ultimately they go to the school. So it's very important for the girl child to have her education. So he has emphasized on the education of the girl. He has emphasized on her choice, and he has depended on the Bijoy Benwell judgment, which has upheld this practice where a lady can put whatever covering.
एक दो लॉ स्टूडेंट्स है, उन्होंने अपने कंप्लीट एजुकेशन ही लॉस कर लिया है, और कितने के डिग्री स्टूडेंट्स हैं उन्होंने एजुकेशन ही लॉस किया है। कितने ही गरीब बच्चे पढ़ते थे जहाँ पर गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज में, इनकी वजह से वो बच्चे, क्योंकि वो लोग बेचते ही बहुत मुश्किल से बेचते थे, उनके लिए अभी एजुकेशन तो सिर्फ ख्वाब है, क्योंकि उनके घर वाले सोच रहे हैं इनको शादी करके उनके अम्मी घर को भेजना है।
हम लोगों की पर्सनल उससे तो कोई मुद्दा नहीं है, तो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से उठाया हुआ मुद्दा है। हमें तो इसमें कोई परेशानी नहीं है, क्योंकि हम प्रेशराइज है ही नहीं, हम हमारी मर्जी से पहनते हैं, तो हमें क्यों परेशानी होगी। या इससे पहले तो कभी कोई नहीं था, क्योंकि हम लोगों को कोई परेशानी है ही नहीं। ये हमारे लिए हमारी प्रोटेक्शन है, क्योंकि हमें
स्कूल में भी पहनते थे।
जी पहनते थे, हम स्टार्टिंग से पहनते हुए आ रहे हैं। ये सारी बातें तो अभी आई जा रही हैं, ये तो सिर्फ टारगेटिंग किया जा रहा है। और भी रिलीजन है जो अपना फॉलो करते हैं।
तो सर ये हमारे अल्लाह का हुक्म है, हम इसे कैसे किसी के चक्कर में ख़त्म कर सकते हैं कि दूसरा अगर कहे कि हम हिजाब नहीं पहने तो हम कैसे ये कर सकते हैं। हमें तो हिजाब पहनना होगा ना, ये तो हमारे अल्लाह ने हुक्म दिया है, ये तो हमारा आखिरत का मामला है। ऐसा थोड़ी ना है, इस दुनिया से भी हमें जाना है, आगे भी हमें अल्लाह को भी मुँह दिखाना है। तो अगर हम दुनियादारी को देखें तो फिर हम अपनी आखिरत को भूल जाएंगे। तो
ban of hijab will continue. As you know that
Karnataka Education Act and rule does not permit any religious items inside the class. So we are very clear that no student can wear hijab inside the class.
हमारे देश में सभी धर्मों के संस्कार और प्रैक्टिस करने वाले बच्चे हैं और धर्म के आधार पे कोई फैसला नहीं होता है। बच्चों की एजुकेशन मस्ट है, इसलिए इसको अभी आगे के लिए रखा गया बड़ी बेंच के लिए। तो उनकी बड़ी एक जिम्मेदारी है हमारे न्यायाधीश के लिए, तो इसलिए मैं समझती हूँ कि हमको इसका स्वागत भी करना चाहिए और इंतजार करना चाहिए।
Maulana ji, how do you look at this? The Supreme Court has forwarded this to the larger bench. There has been a contradiction in the decision of both the judges are concerned. How do you see that?
Whatever has been said in the Supreme Court by one of the honorable judge, we welcome that he has said that it is a matter of personal choice, and he has also said that it is related to the right to education, and education is very essential for all the children. So the manner in which this case has been taken up and whatever one of the judge has said, we welcome that, and we also welcome that this case has been referred to a larger bench. And as far as the religious angle is concerned, since this matter is, we think that much more religious, and as far as Islam is concerned, we all must know that whatever Allah has said in the Quran and whatever Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we consider all those things as the essential practice of our religion.
मैंने एमए किया, इसी वेशभूषा में किया, मुझे तो किसी ने नहीं मना किया। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो है एक मानसिकता है, एक सोच है, जो कहीं ना कहीं मैं समझता हूँ जजों के अंदर भी आ गई है। उस मानसिकता से हमें और बल्कि पूरे देश को बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा, तब जाके इसका सुधार हो सकता है। नहीं तो इस तरह की PIL और भी आती रहेंगी और धर्म के नाम पर ये खेल चलता रहेगा।
Well, I think it's a far-reaching decision. Nothing comes in a sense effectively from this decision because it's a split decision between two honorable judges, and therefore the matter has been placed before the Chief Justice to take the matter forward, which would either be referring it to a constitutional bench because that was a point that was involved, or it will just go to a larger bench of 3 judges. That will resolve the conflict. So we have to wait as to what happens.
All right, I'm going to quickly cut across to the All India Muslim Law Board representative Rashid Mali joining us live for more. Rashid ji, यहाँ पर जो split verdict आया है वो कैसे देखते हैं आप? एक तरफ बोला जाता है कि नहीं पहनना है हिजाब क्लासरूम के अंदर, एक तरफ मैटर ऑफ चॉइस बोलते हैं जज।
नहीं, तो ऑनरेबल जस्टिस धूलिया, whatever Mr. Dhulia Sahab has said, we welcome that, and the manner in which he has said that it is the personal choice of a girl whether to cover her head or not, and education is more important and right to education must be given more importance. So all the statements or observation given by Justice Dhulia is we welcome all that, and since this matter have been referred to a larger bench, so we expect that the larger bench will seriously consider the religious aspect of this case, and since this case is purely and 100% we think is a religious case, and as far as Islam is concerned, everyone must know that whatever Allah has said in Quran and whatever Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, we all consider all that as an essential practice of Islam. And since Allah has very clearly mentioned in the Quran that it is compulsory and mandatory for the Muslim girl and woman to cover their head while going outside their home, so Muslim women and girls are doing so with their own free will, and they consider it as their religious duty.
Rashid, there isn't mention on compulsion in the Quran. There is references to modestly dress. There's no compulsion that's mentioned anywhere in the book, on one hand. On the other, when you say that this is, when you're upholding Justice Dhulia's judgment here, or his order that says that it's a matter of choice, ultimately upholding a person's free choice is what is primary. The question here then comes down to, are women, Muslim women, free to choose whether or not they want to wear hijab? In many of the households, there is no choice.
Since As far as my knowledge regarding Quran is concerned, Allah has very clearly said in the Quran that, O Prophet, tell your wives and daughters and the daughters of the Muslim community to cover their head while going outside their homes. This is the clear verdict in the Quran. And as far as the choice angle is concerned, it is completely upon the Muslim girl and woman that it is their choice how they want to dress up. And you all know better than me that whatever has been said in the Indian Constitution, whether it is Article 25 or 21 or Article 51, which clearly states that the modesty of the woman should be respected in all conditions. So if a Muslim girl is covering her head with her own choice and free will, and she considered it to be her religious duty, so I think
own
that
choice
no
and
one
free
has
will
the
to
right
young girls.
to stop that.
Got your point. We got your point, but then the debate comes around to whether families give the women free choice to whether they want to wear it or not. That's unfortunately where the debate comes down to. Even looking at this separately, at what the court's verdict is, the Muslim families even give their women a choice. I'm talking about conservative families, not all. Conservative families insist that girls wear a hijab at the age of 5. Where is the choice? The girls don't have a choice. And you're saying it's compulsion in Quran. It's not mentioned as compulsion in Quran. It's only asked to dress modestly. And I disagree with you saying that the Quran says ask your wives and sisters and mothers to wear the hijab. No, that's not true.
You are asking me or telling me?
I'm telling you because I know it myself too. And a quick word I'd like to ask you, as much as I don't want to compare the Iran protests with India, a quick word.
That you have no knowledge of the Quran.
All right, if you say that, if I've also read the Quran, I'm sorry, I've also read the Quran and I know very well what I'm saying. You're probably reading the Sharia version of the Quran. I've read the Quran myself and I know very well. Great. I don't want to debate on you on that. Sure, you know the Quran better. All right.
That I know better Quran than you.
Sure, you take
and Allah has very clearly
credit for that.
Surah Hijab and
Take the credit for that, sir.
And Allah has asked the Prophet to order his daughters and wives, and then to the wives and daughters of the Muslim children to ask them that whenever they go outside, they must cover their head. This is very clearly mentioned in the Quran, and I am saying that this with full responsibility.
I'll give you that credit that you know better. I'm not going to debate on what Sharia version you're narrating, but I'm just going to ask you: do you agree with what's happening in Iran? Do you agree? As much as I don't like to compare what's happening in India versus what's happening in Iran, would you agree that a government should enforce a hijab rule? Are you agreeing with what the Iranian government is doing with their women there?
No. I do not agree whatever is being done in Iran. No one has the right to compel anyone what to follow or what to not to follow. It is completely upon a particular person, and it is completely the freedom of religion should be given to each and every person as have been given in our constitution.
Okay, so that's where the double standard lies, more or less, when you say that it's all about freedom of choice, but then when young girls are being asked to wear the hijab at the age of 5, that's when the freedom of choice suddenly disappears from the house. That's precisely what the questions are being asked today.
They are doing so with their own choice. No religion is asking a Muslim girl of the age of 5 to do hijab. Whoever is saying so, I think that it is 100% wrong. It is when a Muslim girl grow up, then it is compulsory on her to wear a hijab. And again, in a country like ours, it is completely upon the choice of the Muslim girl whether she wants to
if you
cover her head or
just
not.
a quick question. Okay, just a quick question. If you had a woman in the family who did not want to wear the hijab, would you be okay with that? All right, stay with us, Mr. Rashid. Unfortunately, I can't hear you. We're going to fix that audio. I'm going to cut across to some big news coming in from Karnataka. The very volatile regions in Karnataka's coastal areas have been identified. Karnataka minister there breaking his silence. Karnataka enhances security across the state, particularly those areas that hijab protests had erupted. Home Minister of Karnataka, Araga Gnanendra, says critical places have been identified, security has been placed, steps have been taken to maintain law and order. Karnataka Home Minister now saying that law and order has been maintained in most parts of Karnataka, especially those coastal zones where violent protests had broken out. There's vigil put in place across parts of coastal Karnataka, only to avoid any tensions that may arise.
ಎರಡು ಜನ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಗಳು ವಿಭಿನ್ನ ತೀರ್ಪನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದು CJI ಕೋರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ನ ತೀರ್ಪನ್ನು ಎದುರು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸರ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಪ್ರದೇಶಗಳು ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದೋಬಸ್ತನ್ನು ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೊಲೀಸರು ಬಂದೋಬಸ್ತನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಖಂಡಿತ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಈ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಪಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
All right, now let me cut across to Anisha joining us live for more on that. Anisha, we are seeing a lot of talk on this split verdict. On one hand, you have people upholding Justice Dhulia's order, saying that this is ultimately a matter of choice, and he's more concerned about the girls' right to education. That's really what's bothering him. And also, Dhulia said that Karnataka High Court's order wasn't taken on the right path, versus Justice Gupta, who said that he's basically upheld the Karnataka High Court's order, not giving too much reason to why he's done that. Tell us a little more about this split verdict that's come to fore today.
Well, Nabila, let's look at what the two judges have said, really. Now, there is a split verdict, that is correct. That the fact that the Karnataka High Court's order and the status quo will continue is also correct. But if you look at the way the two judges have approached this entire issue, they have given a very, very different analysis of the entire situation. Now, Justice Gupta, in his analysis, has gone into what we've been discussing, the 11 questions that he has framed for the consideration of the court, whether this was an essential religious practice, how far can the court go into this, what were the rights of the students, what were the rights of the government, whether there is any constitutional principle that protects the right of a student against the uniform policy. All of these issues have been considered by Justice Gupta, who has finally said that his findings go against the petitioners. That's why he has upheld the Karnataka High Court verdict and has dismissed the petitions. On the other hand, Justice Dhulia has taken a completely different approach. He has said that there was no reason to go into the entire issue of essential religious practice. There was no reason to go into all of this issue. The point that is covered, that covers this entire issue, has already been decided by the Supreme Court in the Bijo Emmanuel case, which effectively says that the government cannot make something mandatory that goes against the religious practice of a religion, and people do have the right to choose to follow their own religious practice. And therefore, this entire debate over essential religious practice should not have been gone into. The entire point of this entire issue is Article 19 and Article 15, which is the right to equality, right to freedom of expression, and the right of choice. At the same time, Justice Dhulia has also made a very, very categorical statement about the deprivations faced by women in this country, particularly in rural and poor areas, and has said that the main issue was the access of these girls to education. And in this country, there has to be an emphasis on the right to get education, and that is something that should not have been interfered with. So with this kind of analysis that was done by both the judges, since there is a very clearly both judges have differed in their opinion on what the Karnataka High Court has said, therefore this matter will now go to a larger bench. We are waiting to see what the Chief Justice decides, who will be in this 3-judge bench which will now hear this matter. Because remember, Justice Gupta is scheduled to retire on Sunday, that is the 16th. The Chief Justice himself, Justice UU Lalit, is scheduled to retire on November 8th. So therefore, at least Justice Lalit, which is the current Chief Justice, and Justice Gupta, who is a part of this particular bench, will not be part of the 3-judge bench that will have to be created now. But this is now leaves it to a larger debate of all of these issues of essential practice versus right of religion versus choice, and of course the Bijoy Emmanuel matter, which Justice Dhulia has very clearly noted in his opinion, that if there is a right to practice their religion, if there is a right to say that I will follow a government order to an extent and no further, then how do you balance all of these issues? That is something that the court will have to look into, because remember, the Emmanuel case was about a group of children who said that they will stand for the national anthem, but they will not sing the national anthem because that goes against their religious beliefs. And if you can go to that extent in that particular matter, the question now that comes up is where do you draw the line between the government asking people to follow a certain kind of discipline versus the people saying that this is our right to exercise our religion. So a larger debate, of course, still continues. We're seeing what is happening in Karnataka. We've seen the statement from the Karnataka Education Minister. We've also been hearing from the various lawyers involved in the case what they are saying. But at the moment, legally at least, the Karnataka High Court verdict continues. The status quo in Karnataka continues, and we'll have to see what the Chief Justice now does. Back to you.
Yeah, Anisha, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to quickly go back to Rashid Mali, who is the All India Muslim Personal Law Board representative, speaking to us. Mali ji, thank you for your time. A quick word, if you missed hearing me previously. All right, let me quickly cut across to some breaking news. Mali ji, stay with us as we hear Karnataka Mantri now taking a jibe at the Congress. Mantri says Siddaramaiah compared Sears shawl to hijab. Suril says the Congress must add hijab chodo in Bharat Jodo. Mantri Nagesh accuses the Congress of inciting Muslims. This is a BJP neta who says that he was basically equating
ಕಿವಿ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನಗತ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಪುಷ್ಟೀಕರಿಸುವಂತ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿತು. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯನವರು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಳನ್ನು ಧರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಎನ್ನುವಷ್ಟರು ಉಡಾಫೆಯ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳುವಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿದ್ರು. ಈ ತೀರ್ಪಿನ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳೇ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಿರಸ್ಕರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಚೋಡೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಅಭಿಯಾನವನ್ನ ಭಾರತ್ ಜೋಡೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಗತ್ಯ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಫೈಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ development issues or the people issues. They always want to fight on emotional issues, particularly as one particular religion is most emotional. They want to concentrate on that words, and they have done not now. Since 1947 up to today. Why did they brought Article 370? To see that one particular community votes will be polarized towards Congress. The special benefits which has been given. As you know, there are very small minority communities in the country, but one or two particular community has been considered as minority and given the special status to them. But there are many small religions which are very minute, and they have not got anything when Congress is ruling.
All right, there politics playing out in the state of Karnataka already. It's a poll-bound state. Anisha, who's joining us, tracking the court. Anisha, this is what's happened when the start of the protests happened, the hijab protests where it just began. It was Uttar Pradesh elections. Now it is Karnataka elections. But by the time we're assuming the verdict is out by the Supreme Court from the higher bench, it possibly will be Lok Sabha 2024. So we're worrying here that this could take a political color and eventually, dampen the spirit of these young girls and push them out of the educational system. Really, nobody considering them or taking them into effect here. And that's precisely what Justice Dhulia also cited in court today, saying that the worry here is the girls' education.
Well, absolutely, Nabila. We've been seeing this since this entire drama started in December last year. Even in March this year, when this matter had initially come to the Supreme Court, the petitioners had asked for an urgent hearing, saying that the exams are around the corner, the education of these girls is under question. But at that time, the then Chief Justice had said that this is not a matter that needs such urgent hearing, and we will hear this after the summer vacations. Politically, we've seen the kind of dramatic statements that are being made from all sides, from the BJP, from the Congress, from other political parties, from netas and ministers. And effectively, what we have been seeing since last year, and this is data that was also given to the Supreme Court, that more than 17,000 girls across Karnataka have either missed an exam or not missed classes, or were unable to attend those classes because of what happened between January and March this year, when there were protests on the street, when there were clashes on the street, when they were not allowed to enter the classroom with a hijab on. So we are seeing a very clear effect on the girls in Karnataka because of this entire controversy. Now, we've been talking about this, and you've also been talking about this. What this means for the future of these girls is something that somebody somewhere needs to really, really consider. Of course, the Karnataka government has now said that the hijab ban will continue. They've also taken a shot at the Congress, saying that the Congress does not know what it is saying, that the Congress is trying to play politics on this issue. But with the Karnataka elections, of course, coming up, we'll have to see how this is going to play out further, whether because remember, the High Court verdict effectively was that only in the government PU colleges where uniforms have been prescribed is there a ban on wearing a hijab. However, we saw practically this play out as several other colleges, several other schools and other institutions suddenly decide to stop women wearing a hijab from entering their premises. So will this be properly implemented? Since the government stand has so far been that we are not stopping people from wearing a hijab, and this is something that the SG and the Karnataka Advocate General had both said in the court, that we are not stopping women from wearing a hijab. We're just saying when you're in the school, you have to follow the uniform. But does this mean that the schools which did not prescribe a uniform till this GO had come will at least allow the girls to go back? We've seen people taking transfer
Anisha,
certificates.
I mean, if that's the doubt you have, let me tell you, since I was covering it, no, they're not allowed. In fact, many of those institutions that were allowing hijab previously have now come out with a complete ban. So that's really shocked many of those Muslim girls who've been wearing hijab at a young age. I'm not going to get into the discussion on whether they were enforced the hijab by their families. That's a whole separate debate. But at this point, the shock that these girls have received have pushed them out of the education system. Thousands of them who are right now, in fact, a confirmed number that we get from Mangaluru district alone is about 150 students who have taken their transfer certificates because they're not allowed inside classes. Many of them have not appeared for the examinations because they were not allowed wearing the hijab. Anisha, do stay with us. A quick takeaway from the split verdict that's come today from the Supreme Court. Those who are keenly watching, wanting to know what's happened in the Supreme Court on the hijab ban. Basically, a split verdict came out by two judges. The hijab hearing now will continue as the matter hasn't settled. It was two-judge bench that referred this matter to a larger bench because both their judgments or both their orders were contradictory. Now, the judges, as they gave a split verdict, Justice Gupta on one hand upholds Karnataka High Court ban on hijab, saying no religious symbols allowed inside classrooms. And on the other hand, Justice Dhulia has set aside the Karnataka High Court ban on hijab, saying that this is completely a matter of choice. Karnataka High Court hijab ban now to remain in effect. So what happens next? Maintaining status quo is what the Karnataka government has said clearly, that the High Court of Karnataka had already decided that hijab will not be allowed inside classrooms. The Karnataka government will continue to keep that ruling in effect until the Supreme Court's final verdict comes out. Now, let me take you through the split verdict here, a quick understanding into what the two judges have said. On one hand, Justice Gupta, while Justice Gupta has observed this case, he says, what is the ambit and scope of right to freedom of religion? Is wearing of hijab an essential religious practice? Is wearing hijab in school a right? Is there a constitutional provision for it? Is a government order on hijab legitimate or not? This is basically Justice Gupta's observations as he upholds the Karnataka High Court's ban on religious symbols inside classrooms, including hijab. Anisha, let me cut across to Anisha for more on this. Anisha, if you're with me, a quick word. We just showed pointers of Justice Gupta. I'd like you to give us pointers of what Justice Dhulia has said. Point by point, what did Justice Dhulia say on the other hand?
Well, Nabila, I'll tell you very clearly. Now, Justice Gupta has analysed all the issues that he has considered. However, Justice Dhulia, on the other hand, has given a very short, has read out a very short part of what he's actually said in his detailed judgment. What he has said are effectively two things. One, that the question of essential religious practice should not have been considered at all, that this entire issue was about Article 19, that is freedom of speech and expression, and Article 25, which is freedom of religion, and effectively it is, and I'm quoting here, it is ultimately a matter of choice, nothing more and nothing less. The second point that Justice Dhulia has made is with regard to the education of the girl child, where he has said that what is important here is the education of the girl child. And I'm again quoting the judgment here, that the thing uppermost in my mind was about the education of the girl child. It is common knowledge that already girl child faces a lot of difficulties, primarily in rural and semi-urban areas. She has to help in daily chores, washing, cleaning, etc. before she goes to school. There are other difficulties as well. So why are we making her life any better? That is, those are effectively the two things that Justice Dhulia has said. That one, the essential religious practices issue was a non-issue, it's a matter of choice. That the Bijo Emmanuel matter, a judgment of the Supreme Court, the 5 judges judgment, which has said that a religious practice that the practices of a religion can be allowed to override what is the government order or a government ruling. And secondly, that the education of the girl child is the more important thing. And we will get more details on this once the detailed written order of both the judges is released on the Supreme Court website. But at the moment, what we can discuss is the difference in the way both judges have approached these issues. Of course, Justice Gupta has looked into the various legal questions regarding ERP, regarding constitution, regarding government orders, regarding the right of schools to formulate a uniform policy, all of that, and he has said that the Karnataka High Court was correct. Justice Dhulia, on the other hand, has said that the Karnataka High Court should not have gone into all of this debate at all, that this entire debate was unnecessary, that the question is of the right of choice and right of freedom of expression and right of religion, and of course of protection of girls and girls' education in the country. So we'll now have to see how this plays out later once these matters are brought before the larger bench, when these matters will be taken up. All of these issues will have to be reconsidered by the court now. We've seen the kind of fallout that is the political fallout that this judgment has given with the various political parties taking shots at each other, making statements regarding the situation in Karnataka. We're seeing the Karnataka elections, of course, are coming up very soon. So this will also, of course, have ramifications. But as we were discussing earlier, Nabila, the biggest ramification at this moment is about the education of these girls in Karnataka in particular, and whether this can also have a cascading effect across the country in other areas, because so far this debate has only been about Karnataka. So whether something like this is going to also have a cascading effect elsewhere is something we'll have to wait and see, because we did see street protests on this issue in various parts of the country in the last year. So there are a lot of things that could be happening by the time this matter comes up again before the Supreme Court. But for now, the Supreme Court has given a split verdict, which means that the Karnataka High Court's order that in all government PU colleges where a uniform has been prescribed, the uniform has to be followed and any religious symbols cannot be worn, that order will continue to operate in Karnataka for now. Back to you.
All right, stay with us. I have some big breaking coming in on this. Let me cut across to Swami Chakrapani, who's provoking after the hijab verdict. Chakrapani says kids will wear saffron to schools. Chakrapani says Hindus will wear tilak to schools. And the ban on hijab, in fact, will allow saffron in schools. If hijab is not banned in schools, then Hindu children will also wear saffron and go to schools with tilaks. This is precisely what Chakrapani Swami has said. Chakrapani Swami says that hijab verdict will in fact prevail across the country. Kids will wear saffron to schools if hijab is not banned. Hindus will wear tilak to schools. Ban on hijab will basically allow for saffron in schools. If at all hijab is not banned, it will allow saffron in schools. If hijab is not banned in classrooms, then Hindu children will also be wearing saffron and go to schools with tilak.
सरकार से माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में हिजाब के मामला लंबित है और एक विवाद गहराया हुआ है। बहुत ही सीधी सी बात थी कि कट्टरपंथियों को ये सोचना चाहिए था कि संस्थान कोई भी हो, चाहे शिक्षा संस्थान हो चाहे अन्य, सबका अपना एक ड्रेस कोड होता है जो सबके लिए लागू होता है। लेकिन कट्टरपंथियों ने जिस प्रकार से माहौल बना दिया हिजाब के नाम पर, सर्वोच्च न्यायालय भी कहीं ना कहीं वो स्पष्ट नीति है। हमें लगता है कि सर्वोच्च न्यायालय को इसमें स्पष्ट अपनी नीति अपनानी चाहिए और हिजाब पे पूर्णतया इन संस्थानों में प्रतिबंध करना चाहिए। जो संस्थान का ड्रेस कोड है वही लागू होना चाहिए।
All right, now, but the views are divided over the hijab verdict. Let's take a quick listen to an earlier conversation on this.
वो लड़कियां बालिग हैं, पढ़ी लिखी हैं, जो 12th और फर्स्ट ईयर तक जा रही हैं, वो बेवकूफ़ नहीं है। और आज की बच्ची ना इतनी पाबंद है अपने पेरेंट्स की। पेरेंट्स अगर कह रहे हैं तो अगर वो मोटिवेट बच्ची, वही आपकी बात मैं कहूंगी कि वो बच्ची अपनी पेरेंट्स को मोटिवेट कर सकती है कि नहीं, मैं पढ़ी लिखी हूँ, मुझे आगे पढ़ना है, मुझे हिजाब नहीं पहनना। जिस तरह ईरान में वो लोग ये एहतजाज कर रहे हैं कि हमें नहीं पहनना, हम पे पाबंदी मत लगाओ, इसी तरह मैं यहाँ की भी बात करती हूँ कि अगर वो लड़की कह रही है मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है, मुझे पहनना है, तो आप इसका फिर ऐसा करें कि पूरा एनालिसिस कर लें कि कौन बच्ची ये चाहती है और कौन बच्ची नहीं चाहती है। मेरा ये मानना है कि जो बच्चियां सड़क पे उतर के आई हैं, जो लोग एहतजाज कर रही हैं, इसका मतलब है वो पहनना चाहती हैं, वो खुश हैं उस चीज में, तो हम क्यों उनको पाबंद करना चाहते हैं। फिर आप मजहब की बात में मैं फिर वही दलील दूंगी, बिल्कुल फर्ज है मजहब में, बिल्कुल ये है कि मजहब में पर्दा होना चाहिए, ये कुरान में
मजहब में ऐसा मैंडेटरी नहीं है, रेफरेंस दिया गया है। वैसे तो बहुत सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं, ऐसे तो बहुत सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं।
पूरी बात सुन लीजिए, पूरी बात सुन लीजिए।
आप बोली जा रही, किसी का सुन नहीं रही है। सबसे पहले तो कुरान की आयत है, ला इकरा, इकरा का मतलब है इल्म हासिल करो, जो कुरान में सबसे पहले गया वो तो इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, लेकिन आपके लिए एक रिग्रेसिव प्रोटेस्ट वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट है, जो कि नहीं, आप लोगों को मजहब के नाम पर इन सारी चीजों को जस्टिफाई करवाते हैं, महिलाओं में इन सारी चीजों को आप इम्पोज कर रहे हैं, आप उसको जस्टिफाई करवा रहे हैं। महिला है, महिलाओं के अधिकारों की बात कीजिए, डोंट जस्टिफाई सच रिग्रेसिव प्रैक्टिसेस।
नहीं, यास्मीन जी आपको भी बहुत वक्त दिया, यास्मीन जी आपको भी बहुत वक्त दिया, ऐसा नहीं है कि आपकी बात काट रहे हैं, बल्कि एम्बर काफी देर तक रुके। आप बिल्कुल उंगली मत रखिए अपने पे।
Pooja, frankly and honestly, my concern is, and I'm really worried about the future and education of these, Muslim girls who are being dropped out of school. The 17,000 girls dropped out of school and they dropped their studies because of this regressive religious, this politics. And we should talk about that. We should discuss this religious and regressive practices. Now, this Yasmin Farooqi, she has been justifying the hijab and burqa practices in the name of religion. This is concerning. We are living in a democratic country where we should talk about the education of girl child. We are not discussing that important aspects, but we are just trying to justify that it is all right. It is justified because it has been mentioned in Quran. There is no mention of such term hijab and burqa in Quran. It is being imposed on women since ages.
There have been multiple references of covering the hair for whatever reasons, but no compulsion in the Quran.
Yes. It is only mentioned that cover your bosom, no, not to cover their hair. No, there is no mention not to cover their hair, only to cover their bosom, only that. And also there is a context and reference to link to that particular ayat. So we need to get into that real thing, that what is more important for us today is that education of the girl child.
All right, now a split Supreme Court judgment on the hijab ban in campuses means the stalemate on the case continues. While the Karnataka government says that it's expected a better verdict and the High Court ban will remain, it also took a swipe at the Congress claiming appeasement politics. Samajwadi Party's MP has stoked a row with his bizarre comments on hijab use for women. Karnataka State Education Minister B.C. Nagesh has trained his guns at the Congress, claiming that it not only uses one community to fight polls, but has also polarized a particular community to lead them to the hijab showdown. As for the SP MLA, he's claimed that women should not roam without the hijab, alleging immoral activities would rise without it.
Congress always fight elections not on the development issues or the people issues. They always want to fight on emotional issues, particularly as one particular religion is most emotional. They want to concentrate on that votes, and they have done not now, since 1947 up to today. Why did they brought Article 370? To see that one particular community votes will be polarized towards Congress. The special benefits which has been given. As you know, there are very small minority communities in the country, but one or two particular community has been considered as minority and given the special status to them. But there are many small religions which are very minute, and they have not got anything when Congress is ruling.
ಕಿವಿ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನಗತ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಪುಷ್ಟೀಕರಿಸುವಂತ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿತು. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯನವರು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಳನ್ನು ಧರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಎನ್ನುವಷ್ಟರು ಉಡಾಫೆಯ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳುವಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿದ್ರು. ಈ ತೀರ್ಪಿನ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳೇ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಿರಸ್ಕರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಚೋಡೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಅಭಿಯಾನವನ್ನ ಭಾರತ್ ಜೋಡೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಗತ್ಯ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
Two opinions are there. So under these circumstances, there is no clear-cut decisions in respect of the issue of the hijab case is concerned. So then it has to be referred to according to my opinion, it has to be referred to the constitutional bench, and the constitutional bench has to take the note of every subject and give the correct judgment in respect of the hijab. If it is not taken by the constitutional bench, the confusion will go on. Confusion will continue regarding the hijab issue is concerned. So there must be a clarity on judgment. For that purpose, it should be referred to the constitutional bench. That is only the way.
ये ईमानदारी से एक मजहबी मामला है, इस्लाम का मामला है. इस्लाम के अंदर मतलब ये कि जवान बेटियां और जो हैं वो हैं औरतों के लिए हिजाब का हुक्म दिया गया है कि वो बापर्दा रहें और बेपर्दा होकर बाज़ारों में गलियों में न घूमें. इससे चूँकि हालात बिगड़ते हैं, आवारगी बढ़ती है इससे. और आज अगर इसमें कोई पाबंदी लगाई जाती है कि हिजाब की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो ये कहते हैं, तो इससे समाज को भी न सिर्फ इस्लाम को बल्कि समाज को नुकसान होगा.
Why did the government ban it? And they banned it under the pressure of the Hindutva groups because they wanted to come with a saffron shawl and communalize the issue, make it into a communal issue. It was never a communal issue. It was an issue where a Muslim girl was encouraged to come to educational institutions. So this is a dichotomy. This is the double standards of the BJP, and courts will, I'm very confident that they will allow the girls to come and have their education, which is their fundamental right, whether with a scarf or not.
जहाँ तक हिजाब का सवाल है, इस पर इस्लामिक दुनिया भी भटी हुई है. टर्की में हिजाब पर प्रतिबंध है और ऐसे कई अनेक इस्लामिक देश हैं जो हिजाब को इस्लाम के लिए आवश्यक नहीं मानते. तो सैद्धांतिक और व्यवहारिक तौर पर भारत के उदार लोकतंत्र में जो संविधान के द्वारा चलता है, उसमें स्कूल और कॉलेजों में गणवेश की समानता सिर्फ गणवेश तक सीमित नहीं है. यह लोगों में समानता का भाव, समरसता का भाव और संविधान के प्रति निष्ठा का भाव रखते हुए समन्वय पैदा करता है. इसलिए स्कूल और कॉलेजों में हिजाब या इस तरह की किसी पोशाक की अनुमति देना इस देश में पहचान की राजनीति को आगे बढ़ाना है. इसलिए मुझे लगता है सर्वोच्च न्यायालय को संविधान और भारत की समकालीन परिस्थिति को देखते हुए निर्णय लेना चाहिए.
This should be left to the educational institutions. Whether what kind of uniforms they can allow. Some allow, some will not allow. Why should we mandate anything? No need to mandate. You should leave it to the education institutions to have their own view. They'll have a committee and they'll have either a college committee or a school committee. They should sit down and take a decision. I think trying to impose anything is something which I don't agree. But now anyway, Honorable Supreme Court is looking at it. So let them come out with a proper finding on this.
पहनावा, खान पीन, निजता की गारंटी भारत का संविधान देता है। उसके अनुसार बिना किसी के अधिकारों का हनन किए हुए पहनने का, खाने का, धर्म मानने की छूट होनी चाहिए। यूनिफॉर्म पहन के क्या हिजाब नहीं लगाया जा सकता? कल आप पगड़ी रोक दोगे, घूंघट रोक दोगे, कल आप जैन दिगंबरों की पूजा रोक दोगे, कहाँ तक जाएगा? तो इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूँ इस संवेदनशील विषय पर एक बहुत ही संविधान सम्मत ही कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
Everywhere it is allowed. Only within the school the issue is where the children from small only they wear and come suddenly if they don't wear their issues. Regarding that is regarding whether it's allowed at also the government school, private school it is allowed according to the management's decision. Only in the government school. So government it's between the one is within the constitutional right, another the rules of the school and management. I think a good decision will be given by the court.
Right, India Today has been on top of this story, bringing you all the angles right here. Do stay with us. I'm going to slip into a short break. News and updates coming up next.
News is about putting people first. Just look at the queues right across. About asking the right questions to those in power. It takes no sides.
माँ का दर्द एक दर्द कोई नहीं समझ सकता उस दर्द को.
It reveals. It heals.
Angry people came out on the streets.
Is this the kind of justice system we want in this country? News is all heart and no hatred.
बिल्किस बानो आज क्या कहना चाहेगी आप?
हमारे साथ जो हुआ है किसी के साथ भी नहीं होना चाहिए.
Experience the news. With me, Rajdeep Sardesai, only on India Today.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
India's Oscar entry film, Shallow Shore, revolves around a young boy and his intense love for cinema. One of the boys who played a very crucial role in the film, Rahul Kohli, who essayed that role to real perfection, unfortunately has passed away. Rahul was fighting leukemia for the last few years but managed to beat the cancer complications all through the film's shoot. His father, who's an auto rickshaw driver, broke down while confirming the news. He said that Rahul was doing okay until the morning of October 2nd. He had fever and soon after eating his breakfast, he repeatedly vomited blood. He was rushed to the hospital but unfortunately was declared dead. Rahul Kohli comes from a humble family. He was very eager to watch this film release, Chalo Show. In fact, Rahul's father even sold his auto rickshaw to treat his son's cancer. But once the filmmakers of Chalo Show heard about this, they even bought him a new auto rickshaw. Rahul's parents say that he was keenly awaiting the release of the film and was very sure that the family's fortunes would change after the film's release. But alas, the crew of film Chalo Show, who was with Rahul all through the time he was at the hospital beating cancer, have broken down ever since. The movie is now India's official entry into the Oscars, representing the country in the Best International Film category. Rahul's family and his entire village are now going to be watching the film in a special screening, Chalo Show, all seated together as an ode to this young boy. We're only hoping that the film would win at the Oscars. That will be a true ode to Rahul Kohli. His dreams surely will live on.
Scroll, scroll, scroll. Is that what you do all day? A study says that excessive use of social media can develop depression in young adults. The study was published in the Journal of Affective Disorders Reports. It says that young adults who use social media more are likely to develop depression within 6 months, and this is regardless of their personality type. Previous research has linked depression with many other factors, including social media. This study addresses the important research questions, finding strong and linear associations of depression across all personality traits. In 2018, the study took a sample of more than 1,000 young adults from America aging between 18 and 30. Depression was measured using the Patient Health Questionnaire. Social media was measured by asking participants how much daily time was spent using popular social media platforms, and personality was measured using the Big Five inventory. This assessed openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. The authors suggest that social comparison can enhance negative feelings in one. This could explain how depression increases with prolonged use of social media. Another reason could be indulging in negative content. Finally, engaging more on social media reduces opportunities for in-person or social interactions. The study was published by Renee Merrill. She said findings from the study are important during a time of technology expansion and integration. Connecting to people virtually may increase the risk of miscommunication or misperception that leads to relationship difficulties and potential risk for developing mental health problems.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Presented by धूल आए पर घर पे ना टिक पाए।
10 months of tumult and face-off, igniting passion and legal fight. The hijab stalemate is here to stay. Supreme Court judges divided on hijab verdict. Battle shifts now to a larger Supreme Court bench. Is there a long legal fight on the cards? Hijab or kitab? What will the Supreme Court decide?
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to India Today. I'm Paulami Saha. Here are the headlines we're tracking at the top of this hour. Kerala occult murders get more gruesome. Special SIT to probe secrets of Kerala's House of Horrors, where 2 women were chopped, cooked and eaten. Psychopath tantric arrested. Prime Minister Modi's mega infrastructure push in hill state Himachal flags off 4th Vande Bharat Express, lays foundation for Una Drug Park, inaugurates IIIT Una Hydro projects as the Diwali gift to the people of Himachal. Storm over Kharge's Muharram quip. BJP launches big attack on Kharge, terms him anti-Muslim.
Our people say always in Hyderabad, Bakri Eid mein bachenge to Muharram mein nachenge.
IMF lauds Modi government's digital cash transfer scheme, calls it a logistical marvel, helping millions of poor in India. News coming in right now. Another black magic horror from Kerala. First cannibalism, now black magic on kids. Black magic on kids in Pantamatitta, holy city's occult shame. After human sacrifice, another horror. Protests against black magic on children. Black magic using children has been reported in Pantamatitta. The incident is reportedly taken place in the district itself. A child reportedly fell unconscious during the procedure. Residents in the area are protesting against the police for not taking action. Residents are protesting, alleging that the Malaya police has not taken any action despite filing a complaint. They say they won't stop the protest until the tantric is arrested. As per residents, the tantric threatens by hurling curses if anybody opposes her. My colleague Shibi Mole is now joining us live from Pantamatitta. Shibi, yesterday, of course, you reported on the House of Horrors where 2 women victims were used as human sacrifice by 3 accused who have now been arrested. Now another case of shocking proportions emerging from Kerala itself, from the same district. Black magic on children. Who is this tantric?
Well, Paulami, like you mentioned, much before people can come out of this shock that was reported in the last 2 days of the human sacrifice. Another case, it's from the same district, Pathanamthitta, is emerging. In fact, a video of this woman, she's actual name is Shobana, is what we're hearing from the police. She has been running a mattam there called Vasanti Mattam. So she's known there as Vasanti. And over the years, she has been doing this black magic on children. So from what we're understanding, she's been using children, saying that if children, if children are a little bit back, a little bit not very good or bright in their studies, using black magic, I can help them, attain knowledge and I can help them improve in their studies is what this woman has been offering. And a lot of people over the years has been believing, has been bringing children under the age of 18, small children coming there, becoming a victim to this. So the residents there are alleging that they have complained, they have filed mass petitions, but still there has been no action. And every time when the residents went to that place, went to that tantric's house to oppose this, to question this, she always used to hurl curses saying that, you will die in the next 41 days. Or she used to throw flowers on them, show all this drama is what the residents there are alleging. And they have complained quite often, but the police, even when the police once, when they came there also, she was not allowing them to enter the place, is what we are hearing from sources. So right now the woman has been taken into custody. She's been taken into custody by the DYSP of Pathanamthitta. She will be questioned exactly on what happened and what has she been doing there. How many children were victim to this? Because there was a video that's been becoming viral on social media where we can see a small child actually falling unconscious. So it's a very small child. So children being used after this human sacrifice coming, lot of truth, lot of incidents like this coming out. Many people are coming forward with complaints. In fact, the protest also, they have been protesting since a while, but after this incident, they strengthened the protest. Even political parties like CPM's Youth Wing, DYFA also took out a march towards that house saying that until this woman is arrested, until this woman is taken into custody, until any action is taken, we are not going to back out, because we really don't want something like what happened in the last 2 days to happen in the state again.
Absolutely, and it's very shocking what you're telling us, Shibi Moore, because what you're saying is that these protests have been happening against this tantric for a while now, but nobody took them seriously. So that basically raises a question mark on the administration, on the police itself. Now, obviously, they have escalated their protests in the wake of what happened in that house of horrors, and the police has now taken this woman into custody. But previously, why didn't the police act?
Well, yes, that's what I was mentioning. Like, the people are saying many times when the local residents went there to oppose, she was throwing them out. She was in fact using the help of men there, like, gundas in fact, and asking them to, don't allow anybody to enter. That's what she was saying. And police also once went there, but she did not allow them to enter. Now, what happened there? Why was the police not able to, take a woman into custody who was doing black magic over the years? That's the question that's raised by the residents also. Now, police, especially in the wake of what happened in the last 2 days, at least now they've taken this seriously and taken the woman into custody. They will have to answer this question, because a special investigative team has been formed to investigate the human sacrifice case and all the missing cases in the state in the last few years. So in that scenario, in this situation, incidents like this, now the health minister Veena George has responded to the issue, saying that the government here is taking these incidents very seriously. We will inquire, we will investigate as to why the action was not taken earlier, and we will be taking strict action. These are things that cannot be accepted, especially using children is something that we cannot accept. We will be taking action, is what she has reacted, and she has said that she has given direction to take strict action, and the woman has been taken into custody. Now the police will have to tell us in the coming hours what exactly was happening there, and why the action was delayed and why she was not taken into custody or arrested earlier.
Shibi Moore, thank you so much for joining us with all of those details. Now, in the state of Kerala, an unbelievable tale has come to fore. 2 women were kidnapped, killed, their bodies chopped off, cooked and eaten, all because a couple wanted to become rich. The accused did so at the behest of a tantric. Superstition, perversion and cannibalism. This is no fictional crime thriller. Shibi Moore reports on this horrific story that has stunned India.
This is Kerala's House of Horrors. Located in Pathanamthitta, this is where Bhagaval Singh and his wife Leila carried out the human sacrifice of 2 women, Padma and Rosalind. all at the behest of a self-proclaimed tantric, Shafi. The sinister occult killings were planned in 2020 when Shafi, impersonating as Sridevi, lured Bhagaval and asked him to meet the tantric. The tantric Shafi himself then promised to make Bhagaval and his family rich. All they had to do was perform human sacrifice. It was in June this year that Rosalind was taken to the couple's house in Pathanamthitta. The couple, along with Shafi, then chopped Rosalind's body into pieces and buried them in a hole.
നമ്മുടെ മെയിൻ ഇതിലെ ഡിറ്റക്ഷനിലേക്ക് എത്തിയത് ആദ്യത്തെ എഫേർട്സ് ഫോക്കസ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് CCTV ഫുട്ടേജാണ്. എലംകുളം ഭാഗത്ത് നിന്നാണ് ഈ സ്ത്രീ മിസ്സിംഗ് ആയത്. ഈ CCTV ഫുട്ടേജ് ആൻഡ് ദ സ്കോർപിയോ വിച്ച് വാസ് ഡിറ്റക്റ്റഡ് ആൻഡ് ദ ഓണർഷിപ്പ് ഓഫ് ദ സ്കോർപിയോ. അപ്പോൾ ഇറ്റ് ലെഡ് ടു ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് അക്യൂസ്ഡ് മിസ്റ്റർ ഷാഫി അലിയാസ് റഷീദ്.
A month after Rosalind's murder, Bhagaval and Leila contacted Shafi again. They asked him when will they get the wealth. This time the tantric told the couple that one more sacrifice was needed. So Padma was brought in. This is her walking towards Bhagaval and Leila's house the day she was murdered.
Basically, he is a sexual pervert. Sexual pervert including sadistic pleasure, causing injury, causing harm, even death. സെക്ഷൽ പെർവേർട്ട് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ അതാണ് ഒരു സേഡിസ്റ്റിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്ലെജർ എടുക്കുന്ന ആളാണ്. ആ സേഡിസ്റ്റിക് പ്ലെജറിന് വേണ്ടി എന്ത് സ്റ്റോറി വേണമെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടാക്കും, ആരെ വേണമെങ്കിലും ഇയാൾ ട്രാപ്പ് ചെയ്യും.
The horror didn't just end there. Bhagaval, Leila and Shafi would sprinkle the blood of the victims inside the house. The police are probing cannibalism allegations too. It is reported that the couple cooked the victims' body parts at the instruction of the tantric.
മാംസം ഇവർ കഴിച്ചു എന്ന് പറയുന്നു, പാചകം ചെയ്ത് കഴിച്ചു എന്ന് പറയുന്നു. അത്തരമൊരു മൊഴി അവരിൽ നിന്ന് ലഭിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ എവിഡൻസ് നമ്മൾ എടുക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുകയാണ്. കാരണം അത് ആദ്യത്തെ കാലടി ഇൻസിഡന്റിൽ അങ്ങനെ സംഭവിക്കാൻ സാധ്യത ഉണ്ട്. അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ വി ഡോണ്ട് ഹാവ് എനി എവിഡൻസ്. വി ഹാവ് ടു ഡു DNA analysis for that.
Leila has told the police that she is depressed and has been under medication. But what explains such depravity?
It was here where Shafi, Bhagaval Singh and Leila carried out the occult killings. The sensational double murder has not just stunned Kerala but the entire country. All three accused has now been sent to judicial custody till October 26th. Bhagaval Singh and Leila will now be in jail. With video journalist Tinku Rajashekar, Shubhimol KG for India Today from Pathanamthitta.
News coming in right now. Sena versus Sena war continues to rage on. Uddhav Thackeray now writes to the Election Commission, questions the poll panel's fairness. Uddhav in fact claims unfair disclosure made to Eknath Shinde which was used by him to his advantage. The letter says that Shinde faction symbol was published on the Election Commission website which will give him an unfair advantage in the upcoming by-polls. So that is the latest that's coming in from Maharashtra. Uddhav Thackeray has now written to the Election Commission. He in fact has questioned the poll panel's fairness. He claims unfair disclosure made to Shinde which was used by him to his advantage. The letter says that Shinde faction symbol, which is that of two swords and a shield, was published on the Election Commission website which will give Eknath Shinde an unfair advantage in the upcoming by-polls, says Uddhav Thackeray. Remember that Andheri East seat in Mumbai goes for by-polls on November 3rd. The Uddhav faction will be contesting that election, and as far as the Shinde faction is concerned, it is still not clear whether it will be a candidate from the Shinde faction or the Bharatiya Janata Party. The nominations close tomorrow. Now, Uddhav Thackeray says that the poll panel is not being fair. It published the Eknath Shinde faction's symbol on the EC website, which is likely to give Eknath Shinde, he alleges, an unfair advantage going into the upcoming by-polls of Andheri East. The Supreme Court passes a split verdict on a batch of appeals challenging restrictions on Muslim girl students wearing hijab in educational institutions in Karnataka. Justice Hemant Gupta dismissed the 26 appeals filed against the judgment of the Karnataka High Court, which held that hijab was not an essential practice of Islam and allowed the ban on wearing headscarf in educational institutions in the state of Karnataka. Expressing a divergence in opinion, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia set aside the Karnataka High Court judgment and held that the entire concept of essential religious practice was not essential to the dispute itself. Justice Dhulia said that the Karnataka High Court took the wrong path and hijab was a matter of choice, nothing more and nothing less. Dhulia claims that the foremost question on his mind was the education of the girl child. Meanwhile, the Bommai government claims they will continue to enforce the hijab ban in the state.
At the moment, there is no stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict. There has never been a stay on the Karnataka High Court verdict from the Supreme Court. So does that mean that the status quo and the operation of the Karnataka High Court verdict will continue?
See, it requires at least two judges to stay the judgment, and because now the matter, there's been a disagreement and the matter is still pending in the court, so the question of what